monster inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets claws real big, gets off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gore. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of party. And if you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. This world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need
Hello and welcome to my Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick, and hope you guys had a good weekend. It was a crazy weekend. Even today was crazy. Every day is a new day. Every day is a crazy day. Seems like, but today was insane. Um, we'll go over through all those news real soon. But how everyone's doing tonight? I'm doing. Not good and not bad. Um, I'm okay, but my back and my neck is just driving me crazy. We got some moisture in the forecast, and it really plays a big role when you have a lot of arthritis in your spine. It really fucks you up. But other than that, it can't be any worse than what Tim Watts is going through. Holy shit. Who had that in their bingo card? Tim Watts, yeah, I'm gonna run again for governor of Minnesota. I'm gonna go for a third term today. I'm resigning. I'm not gonna run. Forget about it. Forget what I said. There's nothing to see here, like I've always said. Oh, Biden, where are you? I need you. What am I gonna do? I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, am I just gonna just leave? Yeah, you got abandoned. They're gonna abandon you, and they're gonna dump you right in the side of the road, like where you belong. Fuck, man. But all right, let's go straight to the news. Let's see what's going on in the world today. First, we're gonna start off with, man, I gotta set this up, but it's okay. We'll do this on the fly. Let's go straight to Jason A for tonight to begin the night show. Let's go ahead and set this up and let's watch. If it lets.
But these characters were coming out of Venezuela and doing so on purpose. I mean, that's what the indictment's all about.
Yeah, and that's the strategic shift. President Trump, Stephen Miller, DHS Secretary Noam, and others have made. These groups, Tren de Aragua, Cartel de los Soles, these aren't like our grandfather's mafia. These are more like ISIS and Al Qaeda with state backing. Maduro was a state backer of narco-terrorism. These operatives are some of the most vicious in the world of Venezuela's military and intelligence service, partnered with the Iranians, the Chinese and Russians, and also the Cubans.
You were just talking about Cuba and what could come next there. Are you considering U.S. action in Cuba?
We're not. I think it's just going to fall. I don't think we need any action. It looks like it's going down. It's going down for the count. You ever watch a fight? They go down for the count. It looks like it's going down. What do you think, Howard?
It's going down. They've lived off of Venezuela, right? The economics were all Venezuelan, right?
President Trump did his Mar-a-Lago home as soldiers of the Army's elite Delta Force dropped in and breached Maduro's compound just after 2 a.m. local time.
He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast.
Astonishing from a presidential compound to a work, really an astonishing development. And what is even more astonishing is that military operation, as you know, David.
Now, this will go down as one of the most historic high-risk capture and extraction raids that will be memorialized in military doctrine. It was a JSOC-led operation with full joint and interagency support, but at the level of risk, mission off. And of course, we know Delta Force was in the lead with the support of the 75th Ranger Regiment, and of course, the TF-160th, the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers. I would say this: the Ranger Regiment was most likely fighting the external fight as an isolation and containment force, while Delta focused on the actual raid itself. But the limited time they spent on the ground just shows elite military planning and just discipline.
Gun battles. We are learning. The Cubans say 32 Cubans were killed. Now, the Cubans were doing security for Maduro. So it is likely, we know there was gunfire when the U.S. elite Delta Force approached that compound, got near Maduro. There was gunfire that broke out. 32 Cubans apparently killed in that. And Donald Trump has now revealed that the Americans who were wounded were helicopter pilots. We saw those helicopters going over Caracas.
Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela since 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
We've gotten spoiled in recent months over these high-risk operations to go after the Iranian nuclear sites and then this extraction of Nicolas Maduro. But the consequences of failure are huge. What about that?
Yeah, you think back to Operation Eagle Claw, the failed rescue attempt of the U.S. hostages in Iran, and what that shows on a world stage. You know, failure has serious implications again on the world stage.
Yeah,
but again, I think if there's anything to take away from this, it shows that the U.S. military does not have a rival in this world right now. While China may have technology, they may have numbers. Tell me the last time China executed a raid of this magnitude, or that their soldiers were in sustained combat. We have the most technologically advanced force, and they are seasoned by real combat. And those lessons learned prepare them for any fight, anywhere, any place against any enemy. And that's truly what makes the U.S. military the most elite and special.
They had flown over the waters at about 100 feet, those dark waters arriving, and there was gunfire apparently then. Now, some of those helicopters and some of the other warplanes overhead providing support took out air defenses, but apparently some of those helicopter pilots were hit. They managed to keep flying the helicopters. President Trump said they were bleeding badly, but still kept on. We don't know exactly whether those were gunshot wounds or shrapnel, perhaps, from the helicopter getting hit, but they were able to keep flying those helicopters. When they approached Maduro and his wife, they gave up, according to President Trump, on their way to try to get behind those steel doors. But I can tell you, David, even if they'd gotten behind those steel doors, the Delta Force could have gotten them out of there. They would have blasted their way in through those doors.
Nope. Officials tell CBS News a CIA source inside the Maduro government tracked the dictator's movements for months, where he lived, where he traveled, and what he ate.
The guys on the ground, the unit is more polished now than ever. You know, the war on terror ushered in the Americas being able to use a ground force like nobody's used in history, I think. I'd also say that these guys plan for this. They train for this. Basically, they spend their whole adult lives for this one mission to get here. And I think it's just fantastic for all the boys. And the guys that pulled this off, I couldn't be prouder of them.
Well, Mike, that speaks to the professionalism of JSOC forces. These are traditionally older soldiers. They are the best. They are the most lethal warriors in the world. But they also show restraint. This was a capture extraction mission. So, you know, they've got to take that into account, and they're putting their lives at risk to make sure that they capture Maduro and they don't eliminate him, because that would have repercussions on the world stage. But you are focused on the mission, and the mission takes priority, and you really don't relax until you arrive, from what we're told, back on the Iwo Jima with your target in hand. And that's when you sort of come out of that high, that focus, and you can take a breath of fresh air.
That's why you said the protective force of Maduro was Cuban, right? They were Cuban guards. So they were just paying Cuba when that money stopped.
Don't hire them in the future.
Yeah, they weren't very good.
From our country who were forced
They weren't very good. Damn.
They were from Cuba. People from different countries like to stay in those countries, whatever, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And people want to go back to Cuba, and they want to work in Cuba. But Cuba's going down for the count. Thank you very much, everybody.
You know, I feel for Cuba because, like, my stepfather, which today is his birthday, so happy birthday. But my stepfather, he's Cuban, and my step grandmother is also Cuban. She was born on the island, and she came on a flotilla over here, and so did my grandfather, and he's not with us anymore. He passed away a few years back, and it devastates me even to think about it. It really hurts me. But they came on the flotilla, and they told me many stories on how horrible it was in Cuba, and how, like, you were lucky if you had like enough money to buy food, if you had money to pay your light. The light was hardly ever on. Like, they had so many problems with like the infrastructure there, and so many stories. Like, I could be here all night just talking about it, just what my grandfather told me. And I would love to see a day where Cuba is free and Cuba prospering like the United States. I would love Cuba to revamp their like Havana and all over Cuba, and not to get too much influence from the United States, but to bring in a little bit of some infrastructure. That's what they need. They need to tidy up their infrastructure, and especially the power. You know, it seems like these islands struggle with their power, and I feel like if the United States could step up and help them out with that, and it can really help Cuba. But until then, it's just a wait and see, because I mean, is Trump gonna go and fix Cuba too? I mean, it's a domino effect. That's definitely for sure, because a lot of the money and a lot of the cartels and stuff, they come out of Venezuela, they come out of Colombia. They go back and forth between Colombia and Venezuela, and they make their way through Ecuador and the drug flow. But if they could stop that, stop the drugs, and revamp the oil fields and pump up the oil, I mean, that's enough to make Venezuela very rich. And not only that, but the United States too. With the help of the United States, they can prosper. But until then, right now, I know Venezuelans are very uncertain and very scared of the future. But I tell you right now, at least for a moment, they celebrated and they were happy, and it was well deserved for them to have their happiness. Let's go ahead and see if I could show our next video here real quick, because we know I'm having technical difficulties with StreamYard. It's always a problem with them. Always. With the audio, they have like the worst problem. That's why they got bought out by a different company. Okay, here we go. Let's set this up. Coming from Liberal Hive Mind.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. And just like that, the left's favorite talking point totally and utterly collapses. Their favorite line as of late is claiming that it's all about the oil. Donald Trump is just a fascist who kidnapped a foreign leader and is now trying to steal their natural resources. They think this is such a great talking point, when in reality, all they're doing is regurgitating reiterating the same talking point that we've heard for 25 freaking years, even longer. And like I was saying yesterday, in the past, a lot of people bought this stuff hook, line, and sinker. They were giving this talking point way too much credit, thinking it's the morally clear perspective. But today, that talking point dies. And it's actually not me who's going to dismantle that talking point. No, take it from a Venezuelan man himself. I got an amazing clip from an actual Venezuelan who's been hearing all this left-wing rhetoric, and he basically dismantles the talking point in 5 seconds flat. And I'm totally here for it. These holier-than-thou, guilt-tripping narratives. I'm so freaking sick of them. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are. It seems kind of to be the trend of 2025, 2026. And it's not just the talking point on oil fascism. No, it's also all these anti-American imperialism talking points. The constant left-wing self-flagellation, these white guilt talking points. I am totally done with them, and I'm just going to say it. The left wants you to believe that American imperialism is so bad, but in a lot of ways, I'm thinking American imperialism is freaking necessary. And I think the Venezuelan people actually agree, because it really boils down to a simple concept. It's either American imperialism or Russian and Chinese imperialism. Well, the option then becomes very clear now, doesn't it? Let me show you guys this incredible clip of the Venezuelan national telling all these left-wing dorks to pound freaking sand. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's start off with this absolutely hilarious gut punch to the idiotic collective left. Here's an actual Venezuelan perspective.
Y le pido a todos que tengan fe, no sé dónde ir a salir, pero le pido a todos que tengan fe, que no se dejen llenar la cabeza de que los gringos solo quieren el petróleo, y los gringos solo quieren sus riquezas. O sea, y a esas personas les pregunto, ¿qué creen ellos que querían los rusos y los chinos durante tanto tiempo? La receta de la arepa. Imposible.
He hit the nail on the head. I mean, that was a mic drop moment. Those who say that the U.S. is only interested in our oil, I ask you, what do you think the Russians and the Chinese wanted here? The recipe for arepas? My friends, the man pictured here on screen is the left's worst nightmare. Basically, anybody with common sense and the ability to think past their freaking nose bridge is kryptonite to the left-wing mob. And this guy called out the hypocrisy straight to the point. What do you think China and Russia are doing in the region? Where do you think those massive oil tankers that Donald Trump was seizing were going? Iran, China, Russia, obviously. It's all power plays, and that's what these other global superpowers or wannabe superpowers are doing. And what's the difference between the American superpower and these wannabe communist superpowers? Well, they're authoritarian and have no respect for human rights. Again, who should be leading the world and who should be leading the Western Hemisphere? It's America. And this is what I mean when I say I'm done with this self-flagellating nonsense, this anti-American imperialism ideology. It's freaking suicidal. American imperialism at this point is necessary because the alternative is total dystopia. And yet we buy into these academic narratives, you know, that we hear people talking about, we hear from our friends and all these thought leaders, and then we regurgitate them blindly. But it's time to start actually thinking in proper perspective. We keep flogging ourselves while China and Russia are teaming up to expand everywhere. Look at China's grip in Africa right now. European influence decided, oh, we need to pull out. Oh, this is bad. Then, of course, all these African nations start collapsing, and in comes China swooping in to take power. And of course, they're 10 times more brutal. And the fact is, when analyzing this Venezuela situation, Nicolas Maduro was straight up a Chinese pawn. China eyed those massive Venezuelan oil reserves. They realized that they needed that, and so they dumped tens of billions of dollars to build influence in the country, in the region. They propped up this narco warlord, enabled all the fraudulent election schemes, helped further destabilize the whole country, and further consolidated power. And previous presidents have let it happen. Joe Biden, the Democrats, Barack Obama played softball the entire time. They talk a big game about the threat that Maduro and Venezuela poses, but they allowed China to grow their power unchecked in that region. You know, like I was saying yesterday, we're talking about a national security nightmare situation. That is, of course, until Donald Trump comes in and destroys decades of China and Russia's hard work in Venezuela in one night. And now I'm supposed to be offended? I'm supposed to argue on the interest of the Chinese and the Russians? Freaking never. I don't give a crap if people say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite because you've criticized regime change. You know, if that makes me a hypocrite, so be it. I've changed my perspective, at least in this particular instance. Not to mention, I think this moment of regime change is going to be handled completely differently. No, honestly, I'm convinced this operation was absolutely necessary. I've realized that it's actually time to start playing the game, the exact game that our adversaries are playing. And if you need more convincing that Donald Trump did something truly of value here, well, then look no further to the reaction. I mean, why do you think everyone's freaking out so hard? China, Russia, Iran, Malaysia, North Korea strongly condemn Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela and demand that he return Maduro. First off, return Nicolas Maduro? Just cue the Elon Musk response.
Go yourself.
Yeah, obviously these countries are panicking because they're reliant on that oil. They're dependent on controlling production, controlling oil prices and supply. And if America now seizes that oil, well, it's the biggest strategic advantage imaginable. That's fueling the outrage, folks. Pure economic self-interest. Even Canada's freaking bricks, because Canada's biggest export is energy to America. Well, if you have the biggest oil reserves in the world, which Venezuela is sitting on, all of a sudden Canada's economy is going to collapse basically overnight, and they'll have no more leverage. They'll probably end up becoming the 51st state. And so it's funny to hear people talk about international law and the Constitution and ethics and this, that, and the other, when really the outrage is Chinese economic influence. You are pushing Chinese propaganda, either knowingly or as a simple, useful idiot. Oh, America just wants the oil. Yeah, so does everyone else, dumbass. But it doesn't even end there. No, let's further decimate this talking point, because it actually goes deeper. You know, in a way, America is just taking back what is rightfully its own. As many people know, America and the United Kingdom actually built Venezuela's oil infrastructure. They wouldn't even have any of it without America developing it. And of course, we know the story. We know what happened. Hugo Chavez, communist revolutionary, then comes in, seizes those American assets, total theft. Then these incompetent communists blunder the whole freaking project, can't keep production levels up. His promise of prosperity for all the people of Venezuela totally collapses. The Venezuelan economy collapses. People are starving. They're eating freaking rodents. Some are dying from starvation. Then, as the usual communist story goes, a massive open door for corruption. A bunch of Communist Party connected thugs seize power, enrich themselves at the detriment of everybody else. And then the Russians and Chinese come in and take advantage of these natural resources, again, not to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. In other words, Venezuelans are way better off under American colonization now, aren't they? Because at least it's mutually beneficial. In comes America, offering stability, democracy, investment, actual industry, jobs, an opportunity to build a strong country like Venezuela was back in the day. And of course, you know that you're never going to get that with the Chinese and the Russians. They only care about their interest. They'll bleed you dry. They'll prop up dictators. They'll enable the theft of your elections. They'll take everything and give you nothing. What is the better alternative? Obviously, Donald Trump made the slickest move here, and the potential shockwave effects are massive. Again, just look at the reactions. I got a viral Telegram post here, which I think offers some perspective. Russians are freaking out over this Maduro development. This is a direct translation of this Russian Telegram post. This is not effing funny. You underdeveloped idiots. I think underdeveloped is probably the direct translation for the R word. Soon it won't even be profitable for us to extract oil. In a couple months, we'll starve to death. This is checkmate for the entire economy of underdeveloped traitor Putin. May he perish, a real bastard, a talentless, stinking piece of expletive trash. This is a nightmare for us. They will drop the price of oil below the floor and take over the entire market. Now, on top of everything else, they'll also have oil. This is a total effing disaster, and we'll be left without internet, drowning in taxes, hugging our freaking oil. Now, this next statement, we'll have to blur it out and censor it a little bit, but he says the political leadership of our country must perish. They are inherently insane and they are traitors. They should be dealt with. The Americans have just extended their existence for several more centuries, while ours will end in a month. They're panicking, folks, and it's no surprise why. We got leftoids seething and grasping at straws, trying to make everything political. But meanwhile, President Trump just solidified American dominance for the next few decades, if this goes well, if he can finish now phase 2. So honestly, I could give a crap about your incoherent ramblings about American imperialism and oil or international law. I truly believe that this was strategically necessary. And it's funny because you got all these leftoids who say Donald Trump is weak on Russia, right? Donald Trump's on Putin's side in the Russia-Ukraine war. They all got freaking Ukrainian flags in their bio, and in comes Donald Trump, again making the slickest move that totally subverts the interest of the Russians, might collapse their war engine, and he's the bad guy? Insert the freaking Elon Musk response.
Go yourself.
Go yourself. The rest of the world is playing the game, and these academic leftist morons want to tie our ankles and handcuff our hands behind our backs. I refuse to give even an inch. And again, you know that had Joe Biden done this, because they were all big talks on Maduro and his regime, if they did it, it'd be a completely different perspective, because deep down inside, they know this was necessary. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Liberal Hive Mind, awesome. Very good show. I love watching his show. I mean, everyone needs to go and subscribe to him. Like, yeah, I like him so much that we're going to watch another episode that came out today. So let's go ahead and set this up and let's watch.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And of course, here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. You know, once again, it appears as though the Democrats are living in an old political era. Just like Joe Biden, they still think that they could get away with massive hypocrisy. They forget that we live in the era of the internet. And so everything you do, well, it sticks. Everything you say will be held against you. And so once again, as Democrats are signaling outrage over the capture of Maduro, well, all their previous statements and policy positions are now resurfacing. In some cases, very recent positions, 2024, really not that long ago, right? The internet is starting to flood the information channels with receipts of left-wing hypocrisy. Again, some more disgusting double standards. Once again, Democrats are getting exposed as pathological liars, the biggest flip-flopping frauds in the game. How dare these liars ever lecture us? Let's expose this massive hypocrisy, starting with Kamala Harris, who seems to be attempting a re-entrance into the political sphere here, likely trying to prime herself for another 2028 run. But of course, in typical Kamala Harris fashion, she's simply just not cut out for it. Now is she? Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so first I want to dive into this steaming pile of trash that Kamala Harris calls a public response. She's decided to make a comeback to X after not posting for quite a long time. Here's Kamala Harris addressing the Trump-Maduro capture with a steaming pile of hot garbage. I mean, this is one of the most vapid political statements of all time. Here she is just simply regurgitating every left-wing talking point on X. Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. Yeah, like eliminating a narco-terrorist threat, which was basically an open backdoor for the Chinese and Russians. Eliminating that threat doesn't make America safer. Taking control of natural resources, like oil, the backbone of production, definitely not going to make things more affordable, right? So right off the bat, we're off to a horrible start. This woman has absolutely no freaking idea what she's talking about. Then she goes into the pivot that we've seen from all these freaking idiots. That Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator does not change the fact that this action was both unlawful and unwise. We've seen this movie before, wars for regime change or oil that are sold as strength but turn into chaos, and American families pay the price. The American people do not want this, and they are tired of being lied to. I'm not sure who made Kamala Harris the voice of the American people, and I'm not exactly sure who's being lied to, considering this isn't a shadowy attempt at regime change. No, everything's happening quite in the open. She then claims this is not about drugs or democracy. No, it's about oil and Donald Trump's desire to play regional strongman. Whoa, calm down, lady. I was already sold. I don't need a further sales pitch. If he cared about either, he wouldn't pardon a convicted drug trafficker or sideline Venezuela's legitimate opposition while pursuing deals with Maduro's cronies. That is literally not happening, by the way. And this whole talk about pardoning a drug trafficker is such a ridiculous distraction that I keep seeing leftoids repeat endlessly. Not to mention, if we're going to talk about pardoning horrible criminals, don't even get me started on the Biden pardons. She then continues, the president is putting troops at risk. We haven't seen anything to suggest that. Spending billions based on what evidence? Destabilizing a region as if Venezuela could be further destabilized, and offering no legal authority, no exit plan, and no benefit at home. Those are some pretty bold statements coming from somebody who doesn't have the ability to frickin' think. America needs a leadership whose priorities are lowering costs for families, enforcing the rule of law, strengthening alliances, and most importantly, putting the American people first. And what? You represent that? The last administration that ushered in a frickin' cost of living crisis, that refused to enforce the law and enabled chaos at the southern border and chaos in American streets. The last administration that didn't strengthen alliances, but strengthened our adversaries, and most most importantly, putting the American people first, says the America Last Party. What a complete joke. She said absolutely nothing of value here, just a bunch of vapid partisan garbage. And you can also smell the AI slop in this post. Look at those M dashes, not to mention the robotic soulless drivel that she's pushing. But of course, Kamala Harris released this statement expecting to position herself as the clear alternative. I guess she was expecting praise in the comments section, but instead, holy moly, did this statement backfire. She is getting roasted in the entire comment section, but in comes the most spectacular point of backfire, as one particular ex-user decided he'd show up with the receipts, and instantly Kamala Harris turns into a laughingstock. Here comes Will Chamberlain dropping the damn hammer, showing that the Biden-Harris administration actually offered a $25 million reward for any information leading to Maduro's arrest. They wanted to arrest Maduro too. They created a $25 million incentive to do so. And now in comes Donald Trump, not a single U.S. casualty, in and out in 90 minutes, arrests Maduro, and he's the bad guy. This is unwise. It's going to backfire. Donald Trump is just a fascist. Capturing Maduro is now unlawful. Did you forget your own damn policy, Kamala Harris? These people are the biggest hypocrites on planet Earth. You put a damn bounty on the guy's head. I mean, if anything, you colossal idiots should be freaking signing a $25 million check and handing it to President Donald J. Trump.
Right.
This right here, folks, is why I continue to say I will never, ever accept lectures from these two-faced, hypocritical frauds. They're allergic to consistency. All they do is lie and contradict themselves. And it's obvious why, right? Well, most of them didn't grow up in the information age. They grew up in a political environment where they could say one thing to one group and another thing to another. And then, of course, the factor of media censorship. They could get away with all this abundant hypocrisy because the media would run cover for them. But we're in a different era. No, we're in the online independent media era. We're in the freedom of speech on X era. And so, yeah, it no longer flies.
Yeah, we share the news with each
on all of
other.
these morons. I got another hilarious example.
You know, we're
Actually,
always
this is
sharing
an absolute
information.
gem from the infamous
That's the biggest
moron on
enemy for
X,
the Democratic
Morgan J.
Party.
Freeman. He posted this in 2024. Maduro will fall. Venezuela will be free. In comes Donald Trump doing exactly that roughly a year and a half later. And of course, the typical leftist response, no, not like this. This isn't what we meant. Only we could collect credit for these kinds of operations. Like my post, if you want New York Governor Kathy Hochul to immediately return Maduro and his wife to Venezuela. What the actual F? Maduro will fall. Venezuela will be free to return the warlord criminal narco terrorist. You cannot make this stuff up. They're now begging to send him back because Donald Trump is the one who did it. These spineless hacks twisting themselves into a pretzel because Trump derangement syndrome, of course, rules all. You know, it's a fascinating psychological phenomenon, but it's also infuriating. And once again, these clowns are getting exposed as having zero principles. Everything's a political angle. And once again, leftoids are arguing with themselves. We don't even have to debate them because we could simply pull up their posts from however many months or years ago, and it does the work for us. But anyways, it's obvious what's going on here. Again, Kamala Harris, career opportunist, coming in, sniffing an opportunity. Ooh, I could so doubt and dismiss Trump's obvious success here, try to flip the script and paint myself as the hero. And it's obviously part of some sort of deep state plot. Kamala Harris is simply the vessel. She's not smart enough to opine on any of these topics. That's the reality. That's why her post is ChatGPT generated, and she probably didn't even generate it. And honestly, what's funny is that even the people who are writing the post for her, even they're too dumb to release anything even semi-freaking consistent or coherent. These people are a complete embarrassment, and they prove it once again. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
All right, let's keep it moving because we got more news to watch.
I do want to now bring you some of the news coming out of Minnesota. A big statement coming out today, followed by a news conference by Governor Tim Walz announcing that he is not going to be running for re-election. That statement being put out earlier this morning as Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will not seek re-election for a third term as governor. He announced on Monday via a statement at a news conference. Walz's announcement comes as he faces growing national criticism from President Donald Trump, among others, for his handling of fraud in Minnesota. Just a little bit ago, President Trump did put out a statement via his Truth Social saying Minnesota's corrupt governor will possibly leave office before his term is up. But in any event, will not be running again because he was caught red-handed along with Representative Omar and others of his Somali friends, stealing tens of billions of taxpayer dollars. I feel certain the facts will come out and they will reveal a serious, unscrupulous, and rich group of slime balls. Governor Walz has destroyed the state of Minnesota, but others like Governor Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Kathy Hochul have done, in my opinion, an even more dishonest and incompetent job. No one is above the law there that he put out there just a little bit ago. And what we want to do is play out the announcement from Governor Tim Walz just a little bit ago. Let's bring that to you right here on Live Now from Fox. He does not take any reporter questions.
Extraordinarily difficult year for our state, and it ended on a particularly sour note. For the last several years, an organized group of criminals have sought to take advantage of this state's generosity. And even as we make progress in the fight against the fraudsters, we now see an organized group of political actors seeking to take advantage of a crisis. I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place. They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors.
The hell he's talking about?
To take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford childcare, and they have no intention of stopping there. Make no mistake.
To take care of their own children?
Concerned about
that's what they're getting paid millions of dollars.
We cannot effectively
to take care of their own children
if we can't earn the public's trust. That's why over the past few years, we've made systemic changes in the way we do business. We've gone to the legislature time and time again to get more tools to combat fraud. We fired people who weren't doing their jobs. We've seen people go to jail for stealing from our state. We've cut off whole streams of funding in partnership with the federal government, where we saw widespread criminal activity. We put new locks on the doors of our remaining programs.
New York is worse.
And we've hired a new head of program integrity to make sure that those
New
locks
York
can't be
is,
broken.
oh Lord.
All across this state.
All across the
Minnesotans
state.
are
It's
hard at
crazy.
work on this
The United
problem.
States is wild.
Advocates, administrators, investigators are on the front lines defending the integrity of our state's programs. And I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to all of them. There is more to do. A single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud should be intolerable. And while there's a role to play for everyone, from the legislature to prosecutors to insurance companies to local and county government, the buck does stop with me. My administration has been taking fast, decisive action to solve this crisis. We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder.
What the fuck?
We've got Republicans here in the state legislature playing hide and seek with potential whistleblowers. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access
Breaking
to our
into it.
children.
How the fuck you know that?
We've got the president of the United States.
Who told him
demonizing
that
our Somali neighbors and
a
wrongfully
right
confiscating
winger
funds
broke in?
that
Who
Minnesotans
told
rely
them
on.
this?
It's disgusting and
Why
it's
is
dangerous.
he saying that?
Republicans are playing
Yo, this
politics
guy
with
needs
the
to go to
future of the
prison.
state.
Fuck that
It's
shit.
shameful. And I've said it before.
They need to
and
go
I will
with
continue to
handcuffs
say it.
and arrest
We
this
welcome
motherfucker.
ideas from anyone in any party from any walk of life who wants to help us continue to stay
This
ahead of
guy's
these criminals.
this guy's
And we
horrible.
welcome the involvement of the federal government. I am grateful to the career professionals at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI who have been helping us fight this fight for years.
This guy's a puppet.
But I
This guy's a
cannot
fucking
abide the
idiot.
actions of the political leadership in Washington. These opportunists are willing to
How the
hurt
hell
our
did he
people
become
to score cheap points.
governor?
They and their allies have no intention
All they
of
did,
helping us
they
solve
pushed
this
this guy
problem,
with so much
and
money,
every intention of trying to
and
profit
they really
off of it.
wanted to funnel
Which
the
brings me to
money
this.
out.
2026 is an
The
election
U.S.
year.
money, the taxpayer money,
Election years have a
out
way
from
of
Minnesota.
ramping up the politics.
And this is not
at a
only
time
happening in
when we
Minnesota.
simply
This is
can't
also
afford
happening in
more about
Ohio.
Minnesota. In September, I
Ohio,
announced that I would seek a
California,
historic third term as Minnesota's governor.
Washington.
And I have every confidence that if I gave it my
Freaking
all, we would win the
Oregon,
race. But as I
freaking New
reflect on
York,
this moment with my family and my
even
team
here
over
in
the
Connecticut.
holidays, I came to
Like
the
this is
conclusion
this is
that
a
I
plague.
can't give a
Like
political campaign
Massachusetts,
my all.
it's a plague.
Every minute that I
It's in
spend
every
defending
state,
my own political
even the
interests
red
would
states.
be a minute I
Don't
can't
get it
spend defending
twisted.
the
They're
people of
in Florida
Minnesota
too.
against the
They're in
criminals who
Georgia.
prey on
They're
our
all over the
generosity
place.
and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
No, you're gonna
I'm
be
passing on this race with zero
hiring an
sadness and zero
attorney,
regret.
and you're
I did
gonna go to
not
jail.
run for this job to have the job. I ran for the job to do the job. Minnesota
And you did a
faces
horrible
enormous
fucking
challenges
job.
this year, and I refuse to spend a single minute doing anything other than rising to meet this moment. Minnesota
What?
has always come first and always will.
Come
That's
first
what
with
I
who?
believe servant leadership demands of me. As an optimist,
Minnesota
I'll hold
comes
out
first
some
with
hope
fraud.
that my friends on the
Yeah,
other
you are
side
the
of the
first.
aisle will consider what servant leadership demands of them in the moment. We can work together to
Fraudsters,
combat against the
man.
criminals. We can work together to rebuild the public's trust and make our state stronger. But make no mistake about it. If Republicans continue down the path of abusing power, smearing entire communities, and running their own fraudulent game at the expense of Minnesotans, I will fight back with everything that I have. I am absolutely confident a Democratic and a DFLer will hold this seat come November. I'm confident that I'll find ways to contribute to the state that I love long after next January. But there'll be time to worry about all that later. Today, I'm proud of the work we've done to make Minnesota America's best place to live and raise kids. From our new paid leave policy to our
What is he
child tax
talking
credit,
about?
to our school lunch programs feeding every single child.
This guy's a fucking
And I'm
idiot.
doubly proud of the incredible team we put together to make this vision
This
a
is not a
reality.
gloating. You
I
didn't
want to
do a
take
good
moment to
job.
thank every member of my staff,
Don't come over here
to
expecting
every
flowers.
single state employee who has
He's
been part of this
expecting
fight.
flowers.
Now more than ever, I need you on the job. I need you to help work together to tackle
No, they're
the
all going to
important
get
work in front of
fired.
us. And most
We
of
need a
all,
whole new
I want
government
Minnesotans to know
in Minnesota because
how
they're all
grateful I
corrupt.
am
Even
for
that
the
flag that's
opportunity to
behind
serve this
him,
state,
it's
for the
disgusting.
privilege
Like, look
that I have
at
been
the
given
Minnesota
to
flag.
serve in this office.
It looks like a
I'm on
Somali
the
flag.
job. I'm focused on making sure that we
What the
stay
hell is
America's
that?
best place to live and raise kids.
They need to bring back the old Minnesota
No one will
flag.
take
That's
that
what they
away
need to
from us.
do.
I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state.
This
I'm
guy's a
proud of
fucking
the way
idiot.
that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that
Oh,
we
I'm
are
proud
optimists
to
for the
bring in
future.
people to the state, but I don't
No
know
one's taking
how
this away from
proud
us.
I'm going to
Not the
be.
fraudsters.
I don't know how I'm going to pay for this
Certainly
shit.
not this
Yeah,
president.
just get the taxpayers to pay
Not
for
on
it.
my
Don't worry,
watch.
Washington will pay for
Tomorrow,
everything.
I'll be back with you. I'll give you an
No,
update
that's
on
it.
America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into
That's
it.
a fucking
And at that
idiot.
time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. Train of Truth is here. Train of Truth is always on time. Tim Walz, you're a fucking idiot. Like, I can't believe that you had the goals to come out and try to take credit and, oh, I did a great job. Oh my God, give me flowers. I blame the YouTuber for putting a spotlight on the businesses here that have so many children inside every day. What time do they open? 2 o'clock? Ain't that a little late? Nah, it's 2 to 10. 2 to 10? Oh shit. Yeah, from 2 to 10, who the fuck daycare opens till 10 o'clock at night? Like, what daycare? Like, isn't that illegal? Ain't you supposed to, like, be closed by 6 p.m.? I think all daycares are supposed to be closed by 6 p.m. So that 2 to 10, I think that's highly illegal. And the fact that Tim Walz doesn't give a fuck, he doesn't even do shit. The government there is all corrupted. Like, we have really bad corruption in our system, in our government. And man, it's gonna take so much to get these motherfuckers out and to bring in proper new people in. because right now there's some cancer inside of the United States of America, and let me tell you something, it has spread, and it's not a good thing. It's not good. So we better hurry up and do something and do it quick, bring accountability quick, and not fiddle dick and waste time. No. If Tim Watts there's probable cause and there's cause and there's evidence and everything, they need to go tomorrow to Minnesota, the FBI and Homeland Security or CIA, whoever you want to put out there, most likely FBI probably take the lead and put the handcuffs on Tim Walz. So that way he could go and spend some time with his favorite friend in the world, Nicolas Maduro. Yay! They could all be jolly in New York City. Ain't that something? Fucking crazy. All right, guys, let's watch some. Continue here, see what we got.
Outside the Capitol right now. Today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that he censured Democratic Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona over the former Navy pilot's participation in a video that called for troops to resist unlawful orders. This is the post on X from Hegseth.
I remember
today.
this.
It says
About
6
a
weeks
while
ago,
ago. Yeah,
Senator
6
Mark
weeks ago.
Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice, and the Department of War and the American people expect justice. For more on this, let's go to Fox 10 Phoenix. Kenzie Beach has more.
The Pentagon has officially started what it calls retirement grade determination proceedings against Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Now, if this process moves forward, Kelly could lose his retired Navy rank as captain and even see his military pension reduced. 6 weeks ago, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly appeared in this video urging service members to refuse unlawful orders, is now at the center of an unfolding Pentagon action. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth characterizes Kelly's role in the video as undermining military discipline, but Kelly calls it freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Pete Hegseth
What a
and
fucking
Donald
idiot.
Trump don't get to decide what Americans in this country
You're
get
in
to
the
say about
military,
their
buddy.
government. Arizona political consultant Stan Barnes
Government
calls
takes
this
over your
decision a pivotal moment in
your
U.S.
speech.
history with long-term political impacts on the line.
Will
That's
this
not
look like
freedom of speech.
the kind of thing that
Giving
should
orders
happen
to
to
the
someone in
military.
the U.S. Senate for saying the things he did, or does it look like political penance that is petulant? What that average voter in the middle, he's the most important. She is the most important person. How they perceive this action, and that will determine
His
who wins the
pension.
2026.
Well, his pension is going to be dropped big time.
Congress, the majority, and it goes on.
It's going to
and
be really bad.
So it's a very consequential moment in U.S. history happening to our U.S. senator.
Now, Barnes tells me it's rare for the Pentagon to take action against a sitting U.S. senator, but it shows just how personal and intense the political
It doesn't
landscape
matter.
has become.
Okay,
especially
just
as
reach
we
a
near
certain.
the 2026
You're
midterm
not
election
touchable.
in Phoenix.
Are you
Kenzie
kidding me?
Beach, Fox 10 News.
This is the response
Because you
on
reach a
X
certain
from
level,
Senator
you're
Kelly today.
untouchable.
He
You
says,
can't. I'm
over
a senator.
25
You
years
cannot
in the
do
U.S.
nothing to
Navy,
me.
39
Get the
combat
fuck
missions,
out of here.
and 4 missions to space. I risked my life
Bring
for this
back
country
accountability.
and to
Make
defend our
accountability great again.
Constitution, including the First Amendment
We need to
right
get
of
Tyson to
every
make some new
American to
shirts.
speak out. I never expected that the
I gotta
President
talk
of
to
the
him.
United States and the Secretary of Defense
So
would attack
Tyson,
me
we need
for
to make
doing
some new
exactly that.
make accountability great again. I gotta talk to Tyson about it. I said, Tyson, we did the first shirt, came out good, but we need to pump out some more shirts of make accountability great again. The true MAGA way. It has to be just like that. I have some ideas in my head. You gotta make some shirts. You gotta start pumping them out. And we need to make accountability great again. The Democrats, they don't know what accountability means. They don't know. They never been held accountable. You know, we need to bring law and justice back. And we need to, you know, if it has to be strict, it has to be strict. But if you're doing the right thing, you don't get punished. But if you're a bad person, you gotta put your ass to the fire. Just letting you know right now. I'm happy to be living these times, to be seeing what I'm seeing. We're living in very unique times. You know, I'm like, we're living the end days. You know, I know it's my end days because I could die any day. You know, who knows? We're not going to be here forever. So we are living some kind of end day. We don't know when the end is going to happen, but it's going to happen. So let's not get it twisted. And let's watch some more news. Actually, Benny Johnson.
What's up, guys? Spenny. Dan Bongino announced that he is leaving his job, and it happened this weekend. Dan Bongino's last day at the FBI, saying from his last post from his official Dan Bongino account that has nearly 1 million subscribers. It was a busy last day on the job. My last post on this account. Tomorrow I return to civilian life. Spent an incredible year. Thanks to the leadership and decisiveness of President Trump, it was an honor of a lifetime to serve and to serve you, the American people. See you on the other side, says Dan. Now, a pretty epic final day. Obviously, the FBI had a huge hand in the capture of Nicolas Maduro and is now assisting in the charging of Nicolas Maduro in New York. Dan Bongino saying, God bless America. I believe that he was part of this operation. It's a really cool last day on the job. Obviously, people are giving lots of claps on the back to somebody who is a true public servant in the true term service. Dan Bongino gave up millions and millions of dollars to serve at the FBI, a thankless job, an impossible job, frankly. I think
he gave
many
up
people
a lot of
criticize
money from
what happened at the FBI in 2025.
That's a really good show.
It's been a major roller coaster, the good, bad, the ugly, whatever. We've tried to call balls and strikes on this program. Here is a absolute strike, which is
But
that
he's an
there is
agent,
nobody who
you
gave
know?
up more other than perhaps
He's an
Donald Trump
agent.
to enter a life of public service than Dan Bongino.
Yeah.
A totally and completely
Once an
thankless
agent,
job
always an agent.
that, you know, got Bongino a couple new enemies, right, online, and a ton of haters and so on, and a lot of armchair quarterbacking. But Dan Bongino obviously very proud of the work that he's done, posting here on his personal account that has 7 million followers. This account now is back and activated. This was the first post. It's just a photo of the FBI being represented actually at the Maduro seizure. You can see the CIA director, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump there. This is John Ratcliffe. And so Dan Bongino very proud of this operation, and now Dan Bongino getting to work back in the old day. The old Dan is back now, which is great. Here comes the old Dan Bongino posting from his account, his first post back. It looks like he hasn't missed a beat, but he does have quite a few axes to grind. Here we go. Good to see you all. I missed you. Thanks for everything we worked on cleaning up. While we worked on cleaning up, working in the administration was the experience of a lifetime, and I'll have some announcements coming soon, but I'm taking a couple days to spend time with my family. Here's a couple of things. Thank you for your interest in the show and its return date. We will have something for you soon.
The lightning. Oh,
the Trump team is not around. It is an otherworldly experience from the other side. He's determined and focused, and having been around quite a few presidents, this one broke the mold. If we blocked you, meaning I assume blocking on this X account, it's because we care so little about your bullshit that we deem it not worthy of even seeing. If you're bitching and whining about it, that means you can't exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You'll need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing black pillars and anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. We're about results, and we're going to talk about that soon. Love you all. Thanks again. Flaming Elmo emoji, says Dan Bongino.
It's going to be
seen by nearly a
so
million
good
people
when he
at time
comes
of
back.
recording.
'Cause he's getting his show set up.
5,000 likes. Some good comments. Flaming Elmo emoji. There you go.
Because he does make more money.
And people dropping lots of memes saying welcome back, welcome back.
Doing his own thing
Lots of
that he would
lots of good
ever make
energy
on
in
the
this post.
FBI.
That wasn't
FBI
all.
don't pay that good.
That wasn't
They
enough.
pay, but not like
For Bongino, he had to come back and do the
not like a big
the
show
extra work here, and this is where it gets very
that
interesting.
he had.
Let me add this, says Dan Bongino. From the jump, there's no confusion. I started in this
But he
movement
can't
as a
release
candidate during the Tea Party movement,
certain things that he knows.
and I
that
began
he
my
can't
political
release it.
commentary career shortly thereafter. I helped build this movement, and I sure as hell am not going to let
he's
it
gonna
get
be
hijacked by a group
he's
of
gonna
black
try to
pillars,
talk, but he
life
can't talk,
losers,
really.
and grifters and bums. We are a movement guided by truth. The essence of the conservative ideology is the preservation of eternal truths. We are not the latest thing group. We are not political cannibals. I've watched quietly from the inside while doing the job I was hired to do, but I'm back now, and it's time to restore balance to the force. As we get ready to make some announcements about the future of the show, I want to warn the haters and the zeros, we've been at this a long time. We live for this stuff. This isn't our first, second, or 10th rodeo. We've seen a lot of dipshits come and go. We revel in making you angry enough to show your asses. It's glorious. We've got midterms coming up, and it's no time for bullshit. This administration is cooking, and real change simmers. If you're spending your entire day bitching and whining about the 3/4 of the term still left to go, then please find the exits. There's no time for it. It's not infighting when you excise a cancer killing the host. It's outfighting because you're not part of any movement I'm familiar with. Looking forward to the big things ahead. Can't wait to tell you about it, says Dan Bongino.
Yeah, the sponsorship,
What is this,
the money,
ladies and gentlemen?
the giveaways.
Going after the
He's
black
gonna do
pillars,
all that
life
stuff.
losers, grifters, and bums.
He wants
Well,
to
without
be
naming
able
any
to talk
names,
every day.
because Dan doesn't, so I'm not going to be presumptive here. And if Dan Bongino wanted to name names, I assumed he would. I assume that what Bongino's going after has been the people on the inside, outside of the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, the America First movement, so-called, that have been creating enormous amounts of drama and division for their own personal gain, grifters, doing it in bad faith, bums, and doing it in order to rip apart the MAGA movement. That would be the black pillars and the life losers, because they are miserable people. We have called those people out. We have fought against it. We have tried our hardest not to engage in the drama and not to be someone other than a channeling force for good, to focus on the real enemy, which of course is the left that wants to kill us. And so we cheer on Dan Bongino coming back for clarity takes like this. Just a reminder what Dan Bongino is capable of, what makes him such a powerful force, and what made him the #1 podcaster in the entire world is going scorched earth. And I think that Dan's going to do that now with more allegiance to the Trump administration than ever. It's going to be biblical like this.
Folks, where were the counter sniper assets to take out a sniper who again infiltrated the mid to outer perimeter? Where? Folks, from what we know of early reporting, this guy did not have a ghillie suit on. Do you know what a ghillie suit is? A ghillie suit is a camouflage disguise, which is nearly impossible to pick out. If this subject was sitting in the woodline with a ghillie suit and hadn't poked out the barrel of his rifle, we may be having a different conversation today. Folks, you can get a ghillie suit probably on Amazon or somewhere else.
Yeah,
I would
that was
guess
in
for
Florida.
a couple
That was
$100,
the Florida
maybe less.
attack.
Do you think the Iranians aren't thinking of this right now? Where were the counter sniper assets? Were they not given enough? Where were the counter surveillance teams? The counter surveillance teams, these units prowl around the perimeter. Their sole purpose is to find cars that don't belong. Where did this guy park? How did he walk in with a rifle to the fence line? How did nobody see him?
That's wild.
How come there were no post standers at each hole? Where was the CSU team? Is anyone in the media going to stop with the victory laps and ask questions? That's your freaking job. If it was President Biden, God forbid, you'd be interviewing this guy's kindergarten teacher right now. Oh, there, look, a ghillie suit right there. How much is it, guys? This is real. They just found this in the seconds. Here's a ghillie suit for adult XL, $25.
Wow.
On sale, folks. Imagine him in a ghillie suit. Would have been smarter. President Trump be dead right now.
Yep.
How did they not see him? Can we stop with the bullshit victory laps, please? How does Ron Rowe still have a job? Where were the CSU teams? Where were the optics, the surveillance optics? Now, granted, it was not, was it like 90 plus yesterday in Florida? Thermal imagery may not be helpful in a really hot day, but I'd rather have it than not. Where were the thermals? Where was the forward-looking infrared? Where was the drone surveillance? How did you miss this guy?
That's crazy, right? They just missed the guy. He's like right in the bushes, clear, almost clear shot at Trump. And thank God he wasn't wearing a ghillie suit. And you know, if he would have gotten to Trump and would have, you know, history could have been different. You know, all this that's happening today would have probably have not happened. So, you know, we're living in history right now. We're every day that we wake up is history, and there's scholars and writers that are writing books right now about everything that has been going on. Like it's awesome. This is a time. This is like can't believe I'm seeing all this. Just to be honest, it's just I'm dumbfounded. All right, let's go to the next news segment here.
Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, is backing off her harsh criticism of President Trump. She now says she's ready to work with the U.S. on quote unquote peace and dialogue. She may see the writing on the wall after President Trump warned Venezuela could face a second wave of strikes if they don't behave. Even with his regime on its last legs, thousands packed Caracas Saturday, demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro. His capture could jumpstart a new age of democracy across that region. Chief international correspondent Steve Harrigan is in Colombia near the border with Venezuela. Steve.
Harris, at this busy border crossing, there's one thing different today. If you look over my right shoulder, it's Colombian military armored personnel carriers. They are not normally here. They're here today after what's happened in Venezuela. Colombia is usually the first stop for Venezuelans trying to flee. More than 3 million Venezuelans have come here to live. If there is violence inside the capital, here is where they're likely to come. So this country really bracing for a potential humanitarian crisis. On the streets,
it shouldn't be a humanitarian crisis, though.
There has not been any sort of widespread violence. Instead, there have been some protests. Many of those protests from Maduro's political party, many of the party calling for Maduro to come back, showing their support for him. As far as this border crossing goes, it's operating as normal. We're not seeing a flood of people. You don't need a visa to get from Venezuela to Colombia, so pretty much you drive through a lot of Venezuelan license plates, cars, and then motorcycles, and then
you don't need a visa.
I've spoken to a lot of people on foot, asked them why they're leaving. They say this is just typical business, but we don't know what is ahead. We've had this guy for 12 years, and we have no idea what's next. So some real concern there on the part of average Venezuelans crossing over today. Harris?
You just set me up perfectly for my next guest. Good to see you, Steve. Thank you. In focus now, Rick De La Torre, the former CIA station chief in Caracas. Great to see you today. Look, I was writing down a couple of questions as our reporter was giving us what's on the ground. Who's on the ground right now running? I mean, which cartels are trying to get out of Dodge at this point?
Right, and that is a concern, right? For a number of years now, the Maduro regime has opened its doors to a number of Colombian terrorist organizations like the FARC-D and ELN, Segunda Marquetalia. They're all living there in the jungles just outside of Cucuta. I've been there. I've been to that bridge. It's myself, Arauca, in those areas. I think what's going to happen next is going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how Colombia plays along, or if it doesn't, as Venezuela comes under more and more control of U.S. forces. Obviously, it'll be part of our objective I suspect, to weed out these terrorists that are the ones that were partners with the Maduro regime and actually moving the drugs, facilitating the human trafficking, working with Iran and others, and extracting gold and silver minerals and selling them. I think what's going to happen is those folks are going to have to make a decision. Are they going to want to face U.S., the United States Department of War, or are they going to cross the border back into Colombia? And if they try to cross the border back into Colombia, what's Colombia going to do about it?
Gosh, there's so many different ways I want to go. So I'm going to whittle it down to this for my next question. How much help will be needed on the ground in Venezuela to keep the peace? I mean, from what you just said, you're going to have fighting factions and people are going to get caught in between that. The president mentioned in recent days that of U.S. military, from your estimation, having been there, what does it take? You got a country to run. He says he's going to do that. What could that look like?
Well, false claims that this is another Iraq or Afghanistan. Let's keep in mind there's very few, if anyone, in Venezuela who's willing to lay their life down and be a martyr in any way, shape, or form. Right? It's not ideology. Most of the military are poor conscripts that have not been paid or fed. They're more interested in going back their home villages and just living lives. But the folks that were really benefiting from this were the generals in some of these far out Wild West kind of areas. So Maduro has never really had a lot of control of full control of some of those areas. He certainly benefited from the kickbacks and the money that his generals were giving him from the Cartel de Soles. But so this is an area, and I'm not exactly sure how we're going to play in that, if we'll even play at all. As for what kind of boots on the ground, and I use that term very, very loosely, I think certainly there's a role for civil engineers and others to play in infrastructure and kind of making sure that the lights are on, the gas is working, those kinds of things. But I don't see the kind of occupation type forces that some are painting.
Yeah, I mean, look, it becomes politics at some point, right? That's why certain people will say those things really, really quickly. You've been on the ground, no doubt you made friends there. The best kind of intelligence in that type of arena is human intelligence.
To
What would
have
you say
an
to the
emergency
people of Venezuela today?
election.
It's a great day to celebrate, and they know this, right? You've seen it everywhere. I think they're a little confused by some folks who tell them that they're worried for them, or this is bad news in some way, or that we apologize for on behalf of the United States. They're looking at them like, you're nuts. We've been wanting this for well over 20 years. They went from being one of the wealthiest stations in our hemisphere to being one of the poorest, and now there's their opportunity to join the real world again.
Hope. Rick De La Torres, thank you very much. Good to have you on the program.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian
Yeah,
Kilby.
right. It's bring it back to me. Yeah, because for a very long time, because I had friends in Florida that are Venezuelans, and they left Venezuela because it was just too crazy. The regime, and this was like Noriega times, and I remember, actually, was it in middle school or high school? I think it was in middle school. We had a couple of kids that came in from Venezuela, and they just blended into the class. And but they didn't know that much English. They were trying to teach them, but then they moved them out after I think it was like a week. They moved them to another class because they didn't know English that well. So, but it was hard times over there, and it's always been because of the drugs and the cartels. They really dominate over there, and the fact that they need to really bring in a good regime and proper security and proper military, invest in Venezuela. And Venezuela will handsomely buy the weapons that the U.S. will provide, and they can arm themselves against internal terroristic attacks from the drug cartels, because they're still out there. They're in the jungle. There's a lot of jungle in Venezuela. Venezuela is really big. Go check it out on the map. It's a very, very big country. And the fact that we were able to get their president, that was awesome. So let's keep it moving. See what we got here.
This is WLWT News 5, leading the way with breaking news.
And that breaking news, a man is in custody after Cincinnati police and Secret Service agents say that he vandalized the Cincinnati home of Vice President J.D. Vance. The vice president speaking out for the first time not long ago, saying a statement, quote, "A crazy person tried to break in." And thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Ashley Kirkland. We are leading the way with team coverage on the incident. WLWT News 5's Lindsay Stone joins us in studio breaking down Vance's statement. But let's get over to News 5's Karen Johnson, who's live with it. What exactly happened early this morning out in East Walnut Hills, Karen?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ashley. This all unfolded just after midnight at the vice president's Cincinnati area home. Investigators say 26-year-old William DeFore ran up to J.D. Vance's home with a hammer and started smashing windows. According to court complaints, DeFore also damaged a car belonging to the Secret Service. Vance and his family were not home as they had already returned to Washington, D.C. Court documents indicate a Secret Service agent witnessed what happened and detained DeFore, who is now facing multiple charges in Hamilton County, including vandalism, obstructing official business, criminal damaging, and criminal trespassing. The Secret Service did release a statement this morning saying the man was physically detained by Secret Service agents assigned to the vice president's home. The residence was unoccupied at the time of the incident, and the vice president and his family were not in Ohio. The U.S. Secret Service is coordinating with the Cincinnati Police Department and the U.S. Attorney's Office as charging decisions are reviewed. Now, we are learning more about DeFore's criminal past. He does have a little bit of a criminal past. First, he is from the area. He lives in Hyde Park. He has previous charges. In 2023, he was charged with trespassing on property at UC Health's Psychiatric Emergency Service Building. Records show he was found not competent to stand trial, and those charges were dismissed. Then a year later,
not
in
competent to stand
2024,
trial,
he
they
was
just
accused
dismissed
of
him.
vandalizing a Hyde Park business. Judge Ellison Hathaway found him eligible for mental health treatment in lieu of conviction. Reporting live in East Walnut Hills, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
Karen, thanks so much for breaking all of that down in this morning. Vice President Vance did share a statement on X saying that he is thankful for the police who responded to his Cincinnati home. WLWT News 5 anchor Lindsay Stone is here with more on what the vice president had to say. Lindsay.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ashley. So J.D. Vance released a statement reading in part, quote, "I appreciate everyone's well wishes about the attack at our home. As far as I can tell, a crazy person tried to break in by hammering the windows. I'm grateful to the Secret Service and the Cincinnati police for responding quickly." He added that he and his family were not even home at the time, as they had already returned to the Capitol. Now, so far, President Trump has not shared a statement yet. We are still working to hear from local and national lawmakers as well.
Well, let's I mean, crazy story. You know, some person goes up to the vice president's home in Ohio. He's not even there, and this person comes and starts breaking windows. First of all, how the fuck did he get close to that home without Secret Service swamping over him and grabbing him and throwing his ass in jail? Like, where was the security at JD's home? Anyone could go to his home and plant a device and just blow up his motherfucking house, and the FBI and whatever Secret Service ain't doing shit. Like that. This is how you. It's like a circus. It is a circus. It's a one fucking crazy circus we're living in. Oh boy. Okay, let's keep it moving. Just getting weirder and weirder. It keeps getting weirder every single time. Let's see.
Right now at 5:30, an arrest after a deadly discovery was made on Hollywood Beach.
The suspect remains behind bars tonight, facing a number of charges. Local 10's Roy Ramos is live outside the jail in Fort Lauderdale with the latest on this case. Roy.
Janice and Christy, this grim discovery was made on Hollywood Beach about 2 weeks ago, and since that time, police have really suspected foul play. Well, they say the person responsible is now behind bars.
Okay, McCrae, I did have an opportunity to speak to him.
28-year-old Brandon McCrae was in a Broward County courtroom last Tuesday on a number of charges that include sexual battery and kidnapping to battery by strangulation.
I'm asked the court. I'll waive a formal reading of the charges.
In court, a public defender waived his formal appearance and reading of the details from his arrest.
The court does find probable cause.
Hollywood police say the charges all stem from the death of 56-year-old Heather Assendorf, whose body was found near Cleveland Street on Hollywood Beach in late December. Detectives said it was someone walking by who made the discovery and quickly called police. Sky 10 was up above as officers responded, while on the ground we could see the victim's body covered with a white tarp. We've learned Assendorf is from Pennsylvania, but known to frequent the Hollywood Beach area. Since the deadly discovery was made, detectives have suspected foul play, and it's with McCrae's arrest, more charges could follow.
I am going to set it at $250 each, $250,000 each on counts 1, 2, and 3, $15,000 on 4, $5,000 on 5.
That's over.
So McCrae is currently being held on a $770,000 bond. A bond he still has yet to post. But I just got off the phone with the Hollywood Police Department. They tell me that more charges could follow. For now,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should be no bail.
Local 10 News.
I don't know. Like sometimes, like the court system doesn't make sense to me, right? If you murder someone or kill someone, that automatically should be no bail. Like automatic no bail. How did he is able to get a $770,000 bail? You know, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the money, but you still gave him a chance to come up with it. And it's just ridiculous. It's just so stupid. All right, let's keep it moving.
Maduro's son has spoken at a congressional meeting at Venezuela's National Assembly. He's made a pledge to bring back his father and mother, saying the country is in good hands.
Tal vez secuestraron a Nicolás y a Celia.
They may have kidnapped Nicholas and Celia, but they did not kidnap the conscience of a people who have decided to be free. To you, Delcy Alonia, I offer my unconditional support in the difficult task that lies ahead. You can count on me. You can count on my family. You can count on our determination to take the right steps in facing this responsibility that now falls to you.
You see, this is what Trump needs to remove.
Denounced the accusations
You know?
made against him and the
It's
presidential
the whole
family.
government.
He says his family
It's just like the United
always
States.
acted with integrity.
You know?
Aprovecho esta tribuna.
My name has been included alongside that of the President and the First Lady in the same accusation with which they were kidnapped. My family and I are being persecuted because we are not comparable. We are not political commodities. We are here to defend Venezuela in any circumstance and to maintain peace.
Oh, the fucking bullshit. You know, when you hear bullshit, you call it. And yeah, I'm calling it there.
To the United Nations, Mike Waltz.
Having fled the regime, thank you for your courage and thank you for shedding a light on the true atrocities of the illegitimate Maduro regime. This past weekend, colleagues, the United States successfully carried out a surgical law enforcement operation facilitated by the U.S. military against two indicted fugitives of American justice, narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. Colleagues, Nicolas Maduro is responsible for attacks on the people of the United States, for destabilizing the Western Hemisphere, and illegitimately repressing the people of Venezuela. As Secretary Rubio has said, there is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation in furtherance of lawful indictments that have existed for decades. The United States arrested a narco trafficker who is now going to stand trial in the United States in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. A similar action was taken in 1989 against Manuel Noriega. He was arrested, indicted, convicted in a court of law, served in prison in the United States and in Panama, and the Panamanian people, the American people, are safer for it. And undeniably, the region was more stable. This law enforcement action was directed consistent with the President of the United States' responsibility as Commander-in-Chief to protect Americans at home and abroad against a fugitive who is directly responsible for narcoterrorism that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans and created destabilizing violence throughout our hemisphere. Nicolas Maduro and his co-defendant, Celia Flores, have been transferred here to the United States to stand trial for their crimes. Maduro was indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York, criminal charges for his involvement in narcoterrorism, to traffic cocaine and other drugs, and conducting international weapons trafficking. His crimes will be presented openly in U.S. court proceedings. Colleagues, Maduro is not just an indicted drug trafficker. He was an illegitimate so-called president. He was not a head of state. For years, Maduro and his cronies have manipulated Venezuela's electoral system to maintain their illegitimate grip on power. In fact, just 2 years ago in 2024, that the election in that year was absolutely and completely a farce and fell well short of the most basic transparency and integrity measures essential to upholding credible elections. If the UN and the United Nations in this body on an illegitimate narco terrorist, and the same treatment is this. We should note that over 50 countries, many nations, including the European Union region, and of course the United States, again, over 50 countries rejected the legitimacy of Maduro's re-election following the disputed 2024 elections and do not recognize him as Venezuela's legitimately elected president. Maduro unlawful after the Venezuelan people voted him out of office in the 2024 election. So therefore, Maduro was a fugitive from justice. He is the head of a vicious foreign terrorist organization, Cartel de los Soles. This regime-sponsored enterprise coordinates with and relies on other vicious criminals, again, among others, to carry out its objective of using illegal narcotics as a weapon against the United States. And for its part, Tren de Aragua is a designated foreign terrorist organization with thousands of members, many of whom have unlawfully infiltrated the United States and are conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the American people and against the United States. It's terrorizing criminals commit brutal crimes, including murders, kidnappings, extortions, and human, drug, and weapons trafficking. This administration, President Trump, will not stand for it. In fact, in March of 2025, President Trump declared that Tren de Aragua is quote, Tren de Aragua is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the United States, both directly and at the direction, clandestine or otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. Maduro and his cronies have partnered with some of the most violent and prolific drug traffickers and narco-terrorists in the world for decades, facilitating the flood of illegal drugs coming in the United States, estimated to be several hundred tons annually.
Wow.
He has become rich, incredibly wealthy, off the misery of untold numbers of Americans, Venezuelans, and others, aiding and abetting international terrorist organizations like Hezbollah, coordinating with corrupt Iranian officials and other malign actors to influence not only the region, but to malignly influence the United States. In fact, in its own 2025 World Drug Report, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime identified Venezuela as a key trafficking route in the Western Hemisphere for illegal drugs, predominantly cocaine, entering the United States and increasingly Europe. As Secretary Rubio stated just yesterday, this is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be used as a base of operation for our nation's adversaries and competitors and rivals of the United States. You can't turn Venezuela into the operating hub for Iran, for Hezbollah, for gangs, for Cuban intelligence agents, and other malign actors that control that country. You cannot continue to have the largest energy reserves in the world under the control of adversaries of the United States, under the control of illegitimate leaders, and not benefiting the people of Venezuela, and stolen by a handful of oligarchs inside of Venezuela. But it doesn't stop there. Numerous UN and international human rights organizations
That's how they gave him a
issued
hoodie.
reports
It's fucking cold out
documenting
there.
serious human rights abuses by the Maduro regime, including reports of extrajudicial killings, political prisoners, torture, and arbitrary and unlawful detentions. In fact, over 8 million Venezuelans have fled the country, destabilizing their neighbors in the region and creating the world's largest refugee crisis. Members of this council, colleagues, the United States wants a better future for Venezuela. We believe a better future for the people of Venezuela and for the people of the region and the world is stabilizing the region and making the neighborhood that we live in a much better and safer place. And this is why millions of Venezuelans that have fled this brutal regime are celebrating and cheering around the world as this body pontificates, including those celebrating are including in my home state of Florida, where hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans have fled this regime's brutality.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to reiterate,
It's very true.
President Trump gave diplomacy a
Like I said
chance. He
about-
offered Maduro multiple off-ramps. He tried to de-escalate. Maduro refused to take them. President Trump made it clear that the narco-terrorism must stop, and yet it continued. The United States will not waver in our actions to protect Americans from the scourge of narco-terrorism and seeks peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. I thank you, Mr. President.
Wow.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campano. Catch me and my co-host Harris Faulkner.
That was very powerful. You know, because it's like got all these fake protesters that cares about Venezuela. It's like, we care so much about Venezuela. Put back their president. You kidnapped him. Are you kidding me? Kidnapped him? Do you know what it is to be kidnapped? You're not kidnapped. We're collecting on that fucking ransom. That's what it is. Yeah, the United States wasn't going to do it. Who was going to do it? You know, and the fact that it kept pumping oil and sending it to China and sending it to Russia, that's a big problem in our backyard. So they took they went the route that they went. You know, it's like, listen, this guy he's not a good guy. He's not a great guy. He's a guy, but he's not the brightest. And now we got him. The operation happened. There were injuries. I would like to see photos of the helicopter and what damage the helicopter's in. Wouldn't you? These are the questions we should be asking, but nobody listens, so it's okay. Let's go ahead and continue on to the next. We got another Benny Johnson. Let's see what this is about.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Let's start off 2026 with a massive boycott, shall we? We missed the
All right.
boycotting days, and it's Hilton Hotels that has drawn the short
You're
straw.
boycotting.
Hilton Hotels is a massive international hotel brand with thousands upon thousands of hotels in every single state, including Minneapolis, Minnesota, where there's massive ICE and immigration enforcement happening right now. DHS is rounding up Somali fraudsters, hopefully denaturalizing and deporting them. We found out today when we were talking with DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin that they are being systematically discriminated against at DHS by Hilton, and she provided proof to us. Let's go ahead and track this, ladies and gentlemen. Hilton Hotels refuses service to ICE agents, discriminates against the Trump administration.
That is
So
not
the
good.
federal government is surging resources in Minneapolis to lawfully crack
That
down
is
on billions of
very
dollars of
bad.
fraud and dangerous criminal aliens. Hilton Hotels is defending the criminals by refusing service to federal law enforcement in the Trump administration. DHS just sent us exclusive proof. Hilton Hotels has barred and rejected federal law enforcement officers in Minnesota. Let's go ahead and read the emails. It goes like this.
That
As
is
a further
not
investigation
good. I bet
online, we
Paris is
found
not happy.
information about immigration work connected
make
with
her
your
look
name.
bad.
We're going to be canceling your reservation. This email is in regards to your reservation. We have noticed the influx of government reservations made
Hilton's
today
gonna have to get
for
involved.
DHS, and we're not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at our property. If you're with DHS, let us know, and we're going to cancel your reservation. Please pass on this information to your coworkers. We're not allowing any immigration agents to house on our property. Said this owner of a Hampton Inn in Lakeville. This is, of course, one of the Hilton Hotel brands. Is there going to be a boycott? 77 million people voted for immigration enforcement. It's one of the single most popular issues for President Trump. It is actually the most popular issue for Republicans is immigration and immigration reform and enforcement. 77 million people, all 7 swing states, the popular vote wants immigration crackdowns and deportations. So why the hell would Hilton Hotels be on the side of the criminals? Is this more corporate wokeness? Well, this is what Tricia McLaughlin had to say to us this morning, that effectively we are seeing a widespread campaign to bar law enforcement from being on the ground using government emails, trying to get a government rate for their rooms. They're being turned away. They're being discriminated against. The internet is furious about this. Homeland Security has posted it. Hilton Hotels refuses DHS and law enforcement. Maliciously canceled their reservations. ICE has posted about it. Why would you cancel our federal law enforcement reservations? Not a good look. Yikes. They put it in writing too. Hilton PR is about to have a very, very rough day, says Bill Malugin. And attorney Harmeet Dillon, who is also the acting attorney, the assistant attorney general for civil rights, which of course would be discrimination like this, which could, really cost Hilton, right? If they're seen to be discriminating against customers on the basis of their political affiliation. Says what? Right? It's a pretty scary time. We're going to have to make an example of Hilton Hotels. It is what it is, says Jesse Kelly. Okay. Coordinated anti-ICE campaign. We found immigration work connected to your names and are canceling your reservations. Hilton Hotels.
That's crazy.
Wow, looks like we're going to have to reconsider staying at Hilton Hotels. Hans, are we the baddies? I've been a Hilton Honors member for a long time. I like Hilton Hotels. Too bad. I would gladly join the boycott. Let's go ahead and do a little further investigation. As a Diamond member,
I don't think in the United States.
I reached out to support to see if they discriminate against their customers, and their description here and their little AI is no, Hilton does not discriminate against anyone on any basis. That's crazy. So what exactly is going on here in this coordinated attempt? Is it coming from the top? Hilton Hotels has a lot of different brands and a lot of different owners. And what we believe is happening here is that the individuals who own the franchise called Everpeak Hospitality, not Hilton Corporate, but this hotel brand.
Okay, so it's a private owned.
Purchase and franchise out hotels from, obviously, like this is a Marriott. And this is the Hampton Inn, for instance.
It's the center what they produce, but he's the owner of the place.
All of the names here are Indian names, right? Aman Hundal, Parmeet Singh, Dolly Kaur, Kenny Narga, Rob Singh. These individuals, maybe they don't like the ICE enforcement. They probably don't. Probably don't like Trump. They probably hate the H-1B crackdowns, some of the visa crackdowns. Maybe that's affecting them. And they're just lashing out and using the Hilton brand to do it. And, of course, causing one of the worst PR days in history at Hilton. Hilton needs to immediately rip away their franchise.
It's the franchise owner.
And say, no, you're not allowed to use our brand to discriminate and cause horrible, like the absolute worst.
Yeah, they could strip them. Hilton could come and strip them.
Hospitality at its
the name of the building.
Hospitality at its peak. You can't stay here. We don't like you. We can't stay here. This is hospitality at its peak. You can't stay here. We hate federal law enforcement. Oh, man. Okay. Hilton statement. Hilton gets to us with a statement, ladies and gentlemen, and here it is. The Hilton statement was that this is a massive mistake and that they are now investigating. Here we go. Thank you for your email. Please see the following statement attributable to Hilton spokesperson. Hilton hotels serve as a welcoming place for all. This hotel is independently owned and operated. The actions and references were not reflective of Hilton values. We are investigating this matter with this individual hotel and can confirm that Hilton works with governments, law enforcement agencies, community leaders around the world to ensure properties are open and inviting to everyone. Rip away their franchise. This is making massive news. The number one trending topic in my timeline. ICE blasts Hilton after emails allegedly show hotel refusing rooms to immigrants and immigration agents.
There's the people who's running that Hilton.
There you go. Okay. Hilton hotels, turn your mentions off. Things are going to get ugly in a hurry. Let's go ahead and check. Wow, we'll follow there. Yeah, look. So their last post. Their last post is in 2023. No, that can't be right. Really? Wow. Well, turn on your 2023. Look at that. Get posting, Hilton. Goodness gracious, these corporate brands are so dumb. They're getting ratioed though. Look at this. Like a bunch of people are just going there to the account to just destroy them. Why does your hotels choose violent criminals over law enforcement? Pathetic. Boycotted. You all effed up. Boycott Hilton hotels. Time to kick ass. You messed up, boys and girls. Not staying at your hotels. Perhaps you can offer Smallies a discount. You did the dumbest thing ever. Shame on you. Okay. So this old tweet from 2023 is getting now ratioed into the sun.
Wow.
So dumb. Is it because Elon Musk bought X? Really? And now you don't tweet anymore? DHS says Hilton Hotels is apparently opposed to law enforcement, refuses to book immigration officers and get the word out. They oppose public accommodations for federal officers engaged in the protection of the rule of law. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Tricia McLaughlin told us. We'll play you the clip. You heard it here first. Here you go.
We have over 1,000 Homeland Security investigators on the ground as we speak, as well as hundreds of additional ICE agents, and more are coming. So far, we've had 1,000 arrests of criminal illegal aliens just in the last few weeks alone. But then this is a three-prong approach as well. Our Homeland Security investigators are going door to door, following leads, going to local businesses, suspected fraud sites, whether it be daycares, healthcare centers, or other organizations that get taxpayer dollars. And then, of course, we also have had an ongoing immigration fraud, a really wide-scale investigation, Benny, about 1,300 cases, 40% of which we've seen that there's been some sort of fraud going on. But I also want to talk about what's happening to our law enforcement there on the ground. We are seeing a widespread campaign, primarily by Hilton Hotels, to try and bar our law enforcement from being on the ground. What's happening is we were seeing that our law enforcement officers, when they were using their government emails to try and get a government rate for their rooms, they were being turned away, told that they could not get a room at these Hilton hotels. And then they started using their personal emails. Benny, what they were doing and what Hilton Hotels has admitted to doing, and we will bring these receipts, is the hotels were Googling the names of the guests, finding out that they were involved with immigration enforcement work and saying that they couldn't stay there. So we will have more coming on that, but that is a concerted effort in the Minneapolis area by Hilton. We'll share the receipts with your producers after this.
That's,
They can shut that place down.
atrocious. We're going to blow this up because that's in its own way impeding federal law enforcement and a massive national brand trying to make our country less safe. Has Hilton, like, have you reached out to them for comment on that? Has anybody made contact with them? They're not letting your agents book rooms?
Yes, and this isn't one or two instances. This is a collective, concerted effort, not just our law enforcement agents, but any government official affiliated with Department of Homeland Security.
Wow. That's atrocious. We may have to start our own little boycott here for Hilton if they are indeed engaging in this kind of activity. That's awful. So please, send that along. We'll be happy to work with you and run a boycott against Hilton. I use Hilton hotels all the time. I had no idea that this was happening.
Yeah, it's atrocious, and they're trying to thwart our work. They're trying to keep these law enforcement agents out so they don't have a place to stay, so they can't do their work. And it shouldn't be, Benny, as we've talked about before, this should not be a political issue. Rampant fraud and stealing from the U.S. taxpayer, it should be a bipartisan issue. No one should want this.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I guess I'm going to boycott Hilton. I wasn't planning on going to no damn Hilton. I don't like staying at Hilton, to be honest with you. Get to check out the other affiliations to make sure not to stay there either. So that's like kind of like all the hotels, because there's kind of like a monopoly of hotels that are under the Hilton umbrella. But I like to stay more with the Wyndham, brand than I do with the Hilton brand. I'm not a fan of Hilton. I don't know. It's like the only thing that was cool about the Hiltons, I guess, was Paris Hilton with her show. I forgot the name of the show. I have it here. I have it like on a DVD. It's just she's very airhead, and she's still airhead, and she has a child, and she's still airhead. And I think I don't know why. She just has way too much money, and she's too glammy and too I shit pink. Like, my shit comes out pink. That's how I like to shit. I don't like to see brown. I want to see pink shit. Like, she's very fancy like that. All right, guys, we're going to be watching the next 3. It's going to be back to back to back. Tyson to the Cruise. And then we're wrapping it up for tonight. So here we go.
A USDA employee and 5 other people are charged in what authorities are calling one of the largest food stamp frauds in U.S. history.
America, the person responsible for catching food stamp fraud, just got sentenced to 2 years in prison for running one of the largest food stamp frauds in U.S. history. Arlassa Davis was a longtime USDA employee who worked into the division specifically tasked with identifying SNAP fraud. She didn't just bypass the system, she sold the keys to it. Davis used her personal cell phone to photograph confidential EBT license numbers and funneled them to a criminal ring that generated over $66 million in unauthorized transactions. But here's what should terrify you. This insider fraud is just one piece of a $12 billion annual theft problem that's destroying the SNAP program.
Yeah, too many people on it. Too many illegals on it.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is the fox and the henhouse paradox. The person catching the thieves is the biggest thief of them all. And what we're seeing in 2025 is a complete overhaul of the food stamp system because the fraud has gotten so out of control. Let me break down the absolute insanity of what Arlasa Davis did. She was a
What the
veteran
hell?
USDA employee working within the very division
The
responsible
hell's
for
wrong with her?
identifying SNAP fraud. Her job was to catch criminals stealing food stamp programs. Instead, obviously, she became the architect of one of the largest food stamp frauds in American history.
No
6
way.
people are now charged with a huge fraud and bribery scam targeting food stamps. Listen to this.
Oh my God.
One of the arrested people in this, a USA employee, that's the government agency that oversees food stamp benefits.
Here's how this scheme worked. Davis had privileged access to federal systems that contained confidential EBT license numbers, the unique identifiers that allow stores to process SNAP transactions. She would photograph handwritten lists of these license numbers with their personal cell phone. These weren't random numbers, obviously. These were legitimate license numbers intended for qualifying stores.
Arlasa Davis is the USDA employee accused in the case. She faces additional charges of bribery and honest services fraud. A U.S. attorney says Davis betrayed the public trust by selling confidential government information to the very criminals she was supposed to catch.
Davis then
Oh
funneled
my
these
God.
stolen license numbers to middlemen who sold them to co-conspirators, specifically Michael Kehoe and his network. Kehoe used those license numbers to fraudulently obtain EBT terminals for stores that were not authorized by the USDA to process SNAP transactions. And here's where it gets really sophisticated. These weren't legitimate grocery stores or supermarkets. Kehoe's network supplied approximately 160 unauthorized EBT terminals to smoke shops and bodegas
my
across
God.
New York. Think about that. Smoke shops processing food stamp transactions. These locations should have never had EBT terminals in the first place.
When you've got
Wow.
employees that, basically don't follow the law, then we've got to fix it. And that's what we're doing. There's going to be real consequences for breaking the law across America's federal government with President Trump. But this is just one of many more to come.
The scheme generated over $66 million in unauthorized SNAP transactions. That is $66 million in taxpayer money that was supposed to feed low-income families. Instead, it lined the pockets of these particular criminals. In return of selling those confidential license numbers, Davis received substantial bribe. But here's what shows how calculated this operation was. The bribes were never called payments or kickbacks in their communication. They were disguised in text messages as birthday gifts and flowers. This wasn't sloppy criminal activity. This was
Oh, my
a
birthday gift
sophisticated
today.
operation using coded language to avoid potential detection. When investigators finally cracked the case, they found communications where Davis's bribes were referred to as innocent sounding quote unquote gifts.
They're all charged with conspiracy to steal
my.
government funds and to misappropriate USDA benefits. Arlasa Davis is the USDA employee accused in the case. She faces additional charges of bribery and honest services fraud.
The honest services fraud charge is particularly damning because it recognizes that she violated her duty to serve her public honestly. On December 22nd, 2025, U.S. District Judge Jed Rakoff sentenced Davis to 24 months in prison. But here's the number that's going to drop your jaw. She was ordered to pay $36 million in restitution. That's her share of the $66 million scheme, which unfortunately we'll probably never even see. Acting U.S. Attorney Sean S. Buckley said Davis exploited her role as a government employee to enrich herself while undermining a program designed to help New York families in need. This conviction and sentence sends a clear message that exploitation of funds intended for families will result in serious consequences. Davis also had to forfeit $48,000 in cash from her bank account, probably from the cash that she got from these particular gains, and that's all that she had. The Davis case is just the tip of the iceberg here. What's happening in 2025 and will continue to happen through 2026 and through Trump's term, a complete overhaul of the SNAP program because the fraud has gotten so out of control that the system is fundamentally broken.
The Trump administration's patience
They
is
know
wearing
who's
thin after
legit
months of waiting for
and who isn't.
Democrat-led
They know.
states to turn over data on their SNAP
They
benefit
know.
recipients. 28 states and Guam have provided the files, but about 21 states are still holding out.
In late 2025, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins issued a directive requiring all 40 million SNAP recipients to reapply for benefits. And the reasons behind this are kind of shocking. A 2025 federal audit found that 186,000 deceased individuals and 500,000 duplicate recipients were still on active rolls with SNAP. Think about that. Nearly 200,000 dead people were still receiving food stamps. 500,000 people were receiving checks in multiple states. This is systematic fraud on a massive scale.
States have always needed to hand over at least some sort of SNAP data to the federal government, but this call from USDA really just takes it a step further. So it's not exactly like a simple standard request because they're asking for a full caseload of personally identifiable information. So what does that mean? That means like names, social security numbers, birthdays, addresses, pretty much for everybody who gets SNAP benefits.
This is the first thorough request of its kind, and it's causing a massive legal battle. 28 states and Guam have provided the files, but 21 states, led by, you guessed it, California, are refusing to hand over the data. They're claiming privacy concerns and urging that the USDA is overstepping its legal authority. The states with the most fraud are the ones fighting hardest against the oversight.
This is a new day, and President Trump promised as he was traveling across the country over the last few years that it would not be the government that we know, including the fraud and waste and abuse. And so at USDA, we are hyper-focused on rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse.
The SNAP program cost about $110 billion annually. If 20 to 30% of it is fraud, that is $22 to $33 billion in taxpayer money being stolen every single year. Now, let me explain the difference between what Davis did, insider fraud, and other massive problems plaguing the SNAP program. External fraud through card skimming.
Millions of federal taxpayer dollars earmarked for families stolen in minutes.
And it's leaving some without funds to put food on the table.
It was exactly $1,111 that they took, the full amount within minutes of it being loaded on there.
In 2024, states reported about $250 million in stolen SNAP benefits through card skimming. But USDA estimates the real number could be as high as $12 billion a year. Here's how it works. Criminals use card skimmers to clone EBT cards, then drain the account within minutes of the benefits being loaded. Kenneth Driscoll, who relies on SNAP benefits, had his entire $1,000 stolen within minutes of being loaded. 2 months later, it happened again. $264 stolen, leaving him with only 44 cents.
Georgia is leading the country at $23 million stolen. And our investigation exposes how the crime is connected to other states.
Transactions at markets in Philadelphia, Tampa, Miami, all part of the same criminal networks. The technology gap is killing the program. California became the first state to fully deploy EMV, chip and tap EBT cards in January 2025. The chip cards are much harder to clone than the old magnetic stripe cards. But most states are still using the vulnerable old technology, leaving millions of recipients exposed to skimming.
Transnational criminals have really taken over.
As part of a crackdown on SNAP fraud, the USDA joined the Secret Service and Homeland Security to search for card skimming machines across the country.
Fraud is an absolutely big business right now. During an August operation in Atlanta, agents found dozens of card skimmers in less than 2 days. This is organized crime on a massive, massive scale. Here's what some politicians and bureaucrats don't want you to understand. This isn't a victimless crime. Yes, the government loses millions and millions of dollars. Yes, taxpayers are funding the fraud, but the real victims are the families whose benefits are zeroed out at the grocery store checkout. And here's the policy cliff that makes this even worse. Federal reimbursements for stolen SNAP benefits expired late 2024. That means in 2025 and beyond, if your benefits are stolen, they're likely gone for good. States aren't required to reimburse you, and most won't.
SNAP is one of the largest safety net programs in the country. It begs the question, how much is this costing taxpayers?
Quite a bit of money. So the federal government spent about $99.8 billion on SNAP last year, meaning 2024. It's obviously a massive program that serves about 41.7 million people a month.
There's also new work requirements that went into effect earlier this year, requiring most able-bodied adults without dependents to work about 80 hours a month to stay eligible. The Davis case shows that the Trump administration is serious about cracking down on fraud, From her arrest in May 2025 to her sentencing on December 22nd, 2025, the message is absolutely clear. If you steal from this program, you're going to face the consequences. The SNAP fraud crisis is just one example of how government programs have become targets for organized crime when there's no accountability and no oversight. Davis worked in the fraud prevention division and became the biggest fraudster. States with the highest error rates are fighting hardest against federal oversight. Transnational criminal organizations are running sophisticated skimming operations across the country, and 186,000 dead people are still receiving benefits. This is what happens when government programs grow so large and complex that nobody effectively monitors them. The SNAP program serves 41.7 million people and costs $100 billion annually. At scale, with that much money flowing through the system, it becomes a magnet for fraud. Secretary Rollins says this is just one of many investigations to come. The Trump administration is conducting a systematic review of federal programs to root out fraud, waste, and abuse. The SNAP program is just the beginning. The question is whether the 21 states refusing to provide data will continue to protect fraudsters, or whether they'll finally prioritize the families who actually need those benefits over the criminals stealing them. America, when the person catching food stamp fraud is running a $66 million food stamp fraud herself, you don't have an oversight problem. You have a systematic corruption problem. Davis got 24 months and a $36 million restitution order, but she was just one employee in one division at one agency. How many other foxes are guarding how many other hen houses across the federal government? The 21 states refusing to hand over SNAP data aren't protecting privacy. They're protecting fraud by stealing $12 million annually from families who actually need help. California leads the resistance while also leading the nation in benefit theft. That's not coincidence. The Trump administration just proved they'll prosecute government employees who betray public trust. But the real test is whether they can force blue states to stop protecting criminals bleeding taxpayers dry. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Pretty good, pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of fraud going on. That's an epidemic. Let's keep it moving.
I, Zahran Kwame Mamdani, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
America, New York City just elected an openly socialist mayor who literally said during his inauguration he's going to govern as a socialist. Zohran Mamdani was sworn in by the one, the only Bernie Sanders himself, and he's already promising free childcare, free bus transportation, government-run grocery stores, and of course, massive tax increases on quote-unquote the wealthy. But here's what's really insane. New York is already running a $4 billion budget deficit while being the highest tax city in America. And somehow taking even more of your money is supposed to fix the problem.
It's because it's corrupt. In the system, they're having the same problem everyone is having. The corruption.
Making sure that people can live in affordable housing is not radical. It is the right and decent thing to do.
What is up, guys? Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is the blueprint on how liberal cities destroy themselves. Promise free everything, demonize the people who create jobs, and then act shocked when businesses and taxpayers lead the red states. Let me break down what just happened in New York, because this is absolutely historic and not in a good way. Zohran Mamdani didn't just win the mayoral race. He ran explicitly as a Democrat socialist and won with over 90,000 volunteers knocking doors across the city.
Thank you for electing Zohran Mamdani as your mayor. New York, thank you for inspiring our nation.
He's not even from New York.
Thank you for giving us
Bernie there?
From coast to coast the hope and the vision that we can create government that works for all not just the wealthy
He's talking
and the
in
few.
New York.
Bernie Sanders flew in to swear him in personally, and he's celebrating this as the biggest political upset in modern history. Think about that for a second, guys. The guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union is bragging about installing a socialist mayor in America's largest city.
This was not as much a celebration as it was validation for tenants who have felt forgotten until now.
This is like really rare for somebody, mayor, to come to the tenants to hear what we have to say, to hear what we're going through.
Within hours of being sworn in, Mamdani left City Hall to visit tenants living in dilapidated apartments with mold and violations. He signed 3 executive orders targeting landlords, including reviving the mayor's office to protect tenants and directing the city's legal team to intervene in bankruptcy proceedings against a landlord with 93 buildings.
And I am also proud to announce that I will be signing an executive order directing HPD to work alongside the Department of Buildings, the newly invigorated Mayor's Office to Protect Tenants, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, and our newly created Office of Mass Engagement to hold rental ripoff hearings.
But here's what they're not telling you. When you make it impossible for landlords to actually make money, they stop maintaining properties and eventually abandon them. Then they're either sold or the city takes them over. They become even worse. This isn't theory, folks. This is exactly what happened in New York in the 1970s when rent control destroyed the housing market. Now let's talk about Bernie Sanders' speech at the inauguration, because he laid out the entire socialist playbook. He promised that New York under Zoran Mamdani will provide free childcare, free bus transportation, and government-run grocery stores.
Providing free and high-quality childcare is not radical.
Wow, they put the American flag to the side.
Countries all over the world have done it for years.
Their American flag.
It is what our kids require if they're going to be well prepared for school and what working parents desperately need. It is, in fact, what every city in America should be doing.
Let me actually translate what free actually means. It means paid for by somebody else's taxes. And in New York, that somebody else is probably the middle class and small business owners who can't afford to leave yet.
Free bus transportation is not radical.
Who's going to pay for it?
It will save
Who's going to do the maintenance?
Time and money.
The middle
protect
flag should have been the American flag
and make the city more efficient.
But here's where it gets absolutely delusional. Bernie wants the government to run grocery stores. The same government that can't fix potholes, can't run the DMV effectively, can't balance a budget, and somehow they want to compete with Walmart and Target.
City-sponsored grocery stores will save society money.
Huge mistake.
Good nutrition keeps us healthy.
Yeah, who's going to pay for it?
Chronic
Government
illnesses.
Run, right?
This is the same logic that gave us the Soviet Union bread lines and Venezuelans' empty shelves. When government controls the means of production and distribution, you don't get efficiency. You get corruption, waste, and shortages. Now, here's the part that should terrify every New Yorker. The city is already running a $4 billion budget deficit. They already have the highest taxes in America. And Bernie Sanders' solution,
I don't know who he is. Bernie Sanders is not even from New York.
Tax the wealthy even more.
No, I don't even understand
that the wealthy and large corporations
He's not even from New York.
Their fair share of taxes. It's not radical. It is exactly the right thing to do.
Let me explain what happens when you follow this playbook, because we've seen this play out in every blue city in America. Chicago raised taxes on everything: property taxes, bag taxes, social media taxes, air tax, water tax, you name it. And what happened? Businesses left, property values dropped, and regular citizens had to carry more tax burden. Now, Chicago has a $1.6 billion budget deficit.
So like
Los Angeles, massive $1 billion budget deficit. Seattle
flag.
facing a
Queens had
multi-billion
their
dollar
flag.
shortfall.
Brooklyn has their
Denver,
flag.
growing deficits. Every major blue city following this tax and spend playbook is going to go broke. They're going to file BK. And the pattern is absolutely identical. Promise free stuff, raise taxes on the rich, watch the rich leave, then raise taxes on everybody else to make up the difference. The top 1% already pays an overwhelming majority of taxes in New York. But when you keep raising taxes on people who create jobs and generate wealth, they don't just sit there and take it. They move. They move to places like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, where they can keep more of what they actually earn. Now, let's talk about what's happening in Seattle, because it shows you the same patterns of liberal priorities. Katie Wilson was just sworn in as Seattle's new mayor, and her first major act is defending Somalia child care centers accused of massive fraud. You cannot make this up, guys.
Even before her inauguration, Katie Wilson stepped into the national debate about the funding of Somalia-run child care centers.
Here's what happened if you've been living under a rock. Federal investigators and Washington Republicans are calling for audits of Somalian child care centers that received millions in taxpayer dollars in Minnesota. There are serious questions about fraud and whether the money actually went to child care or somewhere else entirely.
Wilson wasn't joking when she posted her support for Somali child care providers, condemning what she calls a surveillance campaign by extremist influencers.
Now, Mayor Wilson called federal scrutiny a surveillance campaign by extremist influencers. Let that sink in. Asking where taxpayer money went is now considered extremism. The Justice Department even stepped in with Assistant Attorney General warning Seattle to chill regarding Wilson's protected speech defending these particular centers.
State Rep and Washington GOP Chair Jim Walsh echoing the calls for further investigation. His colleague Travis Couture has floated a bill requesting an outside audit.
We're not doing the due diligence to look into who we're paying.
That's the issue. It's not racism. It's not surveillance, but basic accountability on how tax dollars are being spent. Now let's connect the dots between what's happening in New York and Seattle, because it's the exact same playbook that's destroying blue cities across America. Step 1, promise free everything to voters who don't understand basic economics. Step 2, demonize the wealthy and businesses as greedy oppressors. Step 3, raise taxes to pay for the free stuff. Step 4, watch businesses and wealthy taxpayers leave. Step 5, raise taxes on the middle class to make up the difference. Step 6, blame Republicans and systematic inequality when the city goes broke.
Governor Bob Ferguson telling Fox 13 this week that the state has hard decisions to make if it wants to balance its budget.
New York is already on step 5. They've driven out so many wealthy residents and businesses that they're squeezing out the middle class harder than they ever have before. Seattle is right behind them, defending fraud while facing multi-billion-dollar budget shortfalls. Here's the beautiful irony. While these socialists are unlivable for everyone except for the very, very rich and the very poor, the middle class is fleeing to red states in record numbers because they're tired of paying 50% of their income in taxes.
Are you in Minnesota, Rob?
Services that just keep getting worse.
I know you said you were in Minnesota.
Class in this city and in
did
this
you survive
country
Minnesota? You're here, so that means you survived.
That in America, they cannot have it all.
Rob survived Minnesota. I want to see that movie. Rob survived Minnesota.
Country must
That'd be a
belong
fucking
to
great documentary.
all of us, not just a few.
I would have
Sanders
recorded
talks
it
about
too. I would have been
making
the cameraman.
America belong to us.
And look,
But what he's
look,
actually
I gotta
creating is a
do it.
system where productive people subsidize unproductive people until the productive people actually leave. Then everyone suffers because there's no one left to pay for the free stuff. America, what we're witnessing in New York and Seattle is the socialist playbook in real time. Promise free everything, demonize success, raise taxes, defend fraud as protected speech, then act shocked when the city spirals into bankruptcy. Zoran Mamdani literally campaigned on governing as a socialist, and New Yorkers
How are we
elected
letting
him
this
anyways.
happen
Now he's
in the
signing
United States? You
executive
know,
orders,
sneaky
targeting
socialists and the
landlords,
Democratic
promising
Party.
government-run grocery
Why?
stores,
How?
and
Why is
planning
this
massive
happening? How
tax
is
increases, all
America
while the
letting
city
this
runs
happen?
on a $4 billion deficit.
That's
Katie
a bunch of
Wilson is
Mike
defending
Tyson.
Somalia child care centers accused of fraud, calling federal oversight a surveillance campaign, while Seattle faces a multi-billion-dollar budget crisis.
These people
This
running
is
as
what happens when
Democrats.
ideology trumps accountability. The pattern here is clear.
You know?
Chicago,
How you
Los
see
Angeles,
socialism
Seattle,
in the
Denver,
Democratic Party?
every blue
Like,
city follows
when
this
did that
playbook
happen?
and goes broke. They promise
That happened
free
when
stuff,
JFK
raise
got
taxes
shot?
on the rich, watch the rich leave, then raise taxes on the middle class and everybody else. It is a death spiral that ends with a Detroit level decay. Here is my message to anybody living in these
Don't
cities.
come out.
You don't have to stay and watch your cities collapse. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and other red
You
states
guys found any
are
tampons
thriving
yet?
because
Oh,
they
man, I would've
understand that
taken a whole
prosperity
box up
comes
there and
from
just
creating
thrown it
value,
around.
not redistributing wealth. They have
I
lower
would've put, like,
taxes,
all the
better
certification
services,
tampons.
growing economies, and leaders who don't call fraud
And then
investigations
write a little note.
surveillance
Just in case you
campaigns.
need one.
The exodus from blue states to red states is rapidly accelerating, and it's not because of the weather. It's because people are tired of being taxed into poverty to fund socialist experiments that fail every single time. Bernie Sanders can celebrate installing a socialist mayor in New York, but give it 5 years and we'll see the same results we always see. Higher taxes, worse services, more crime, and mass exodus of everyone who can afford to leave. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Any day. That's my buddy. It's Tyson De La Cruz. No, back to me. Rob, man. I tell you, I would have put tampons everywhere. I would have put it in the gas pump. I would have put it like all different places that I go. I'll leave a tampon. I know they're expensive fucking tampons, but you never know. Someone may need one. If then somebody goes out and says, "What the fuck you do with this?" No, you're supposed to put it in your nose. they're supposed to keep your nose warm or stop bleeding in your nose. Just put a tampon in your nose. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, Walmart left. I think New York. I know Target left New York. Walmart doesn't even go. They don't even have a Walmart in New York City. So like. Those people, they travel out to Connecticut and to Jersey to go to like Walmart, and a lot of people come to New York from New York to Connecticut to do their food shopping because the taxes is much cheaper over here, and the gasoline too. So they tend to come up to like the Bridgeport area. I don't think I don't live down that area. Hell no, that place is crazy. I've been to Bridgeport before. Don't want to go over there ever again. It's just weird over there. But we're down to the last video of the night, and it's a Tyson De La Cruz. So actually, let me see if there's anything breaking. Let me see, just take a little look, see if there's any breaking news. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, no. It's nothing too crazy. So let's go ahead and watch the last video of the night. And like I said, it's reserved for Tyson. So set this up.
We already pay the highest taxes in the country. We already have massive, bloated bureaucratic government spending. They've doubled the budget of the state of California in the last 10 years. Is everything twice as good? No, it's all worse.
America, California just passed 800 new laws in 2025 that will take effect
Is it
on
expensive there?
January 1st, 2026.
Wow.
I need you to understand what's really happening here. Sacramento doubled
How much is the
state
gas in
budget for the
Minnesota?
last 10 years.
I wonder.
That's twice as much taxpayer money flowing through the system. And according to Silicon Valley's wealthiest residents who are now fleeing the
Sucks that
state,
you got
everything
money
has
there.
gotten worse. Crime is up. Homelessness is up.
Oh,
Roads are
oh,
crumbling.
about shit,
Power grids are
Minnesota.
failing. Fire departments can't respond to emergencies. But here's what Sacramento focused on instead: banning
never been
plastic
there.
bags
Take
for the
pictures,
second
so that's
time.
longer.
Because the first ban doubled plastic waste,
Go
forcing
pass by the
landlords
tamale
to provide
place.
refrigerators, mandating folic acid in tortillas, and requiring
By
food delivery apps
the
to give
Yearling
refunds
Center.
for wrong
By the
orders.
year-
The
yearling-
level
the
of
yearling-
logic here we're dealing with in
Yearling-
California is
Learning Center.
insane.
Say that 8 times. Learning Center. I'm here to get.
Starting January
Just a
1st, plastic
learning.
bags of any kind will be banned at California stores.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for
Plastic bags
rocking with
banned.
me.
They did
I'm going to
that
break
here
down these
in Connecticut.
2026 laws and show you exactly how disconnected Sacramento is from the actual
They did that in
crisis
Connecticut.
destroying
I have my
California.
own
This
bags.
isn't just bad policies. This is a government that would rather control what bags
I
you
use
use
my
at the
own
grocery
bag.
store than solve violent crime, organized retail theft,
And
homelessness,
it's funny
drug
'cause sometimes
addiction,
I go to
expensive
Walmart and I'll take
gasoline
a
and utility
Target bag.
bills, housing
And then
shortages,
sometimes
and
when I go to
dilapidating
Target,
roads
I'll
on
take a
highways.
Walmart bag.
Let's start with the most California thing imaginable.
I like
Banning
to fuck with
plastic
them.
bags for the second time because the first ban made the problem twice as bad. Starting January 1st, 2026, plastic bags of any kind will be banned at California stores. No single-use plastic, no reusable plastic, just paper bags that stores can charge you 10 cents for, or you bring your own bag. This assemblywoman who authorized the new law admitted that
They
the
know
first
how
partial
plastic
ban that they allowed
bags are made-
reusable
are made
plastic
from.
bags resulted in plastic bag waste doubling, not decreasing. So Sacramento's brilliant,
Comes from
absolutely
oil.
brilliant solution is to try the same thing again, but with more restrictions.
I think it's a good move. Plastic is a pretty big problem.
It's probably slightly inconvenient for us.
It comes after a partial ban that allowed reusable plastic bags essentially backfired.
And that resulted in plastic bag waste doubling. So so basically we wanted to address that.
Under the new law, you can bring your own bag or stores can use paper bags and charge you 10 cents.
If they decide to go
Well,
back
paper.
to paper bags, hey, that's cheese, man.
One resident
Yeah,
nailed
that
the
is.
absurdity here. If you decide to go
stupid.
back to paper bags, hey man, that's the trees. Because here's the hypocrisy
Yeah.
nobody in Sacramento wants to address. They sell you bread in plastic, meat wrapped
Yeah.
in plastic, cheese in plastic,
plastic.
milk mostly in plastic containers,
Yeah, the
but
containers.
no plastic bags. You can
Orange
buy
juice,
a gallon
all
of milk in a
juice.
plastic jug, but God
All
forbid you
treats,
carry it home in a
like
plastic
rice
bag.
pudding that
And
I
while
eat
California
in
obsesses over
plastic.
plastic bags, organized retail theft
I mean-
is destroying businesses across the state. Flash mobs walking
So
out with
everything's in
thousands of
plastic.
dollars in merchandise because Prop 47 made theft under $950 a misdemeanor. Still no solutions for violent crime, group
They give me a
robberies,
plastic to put it
homelessness,
on
drug
the-
addiction,
cover the
expensive
meat.
gasoline and utility
Here in
bills,
Connecticut,
housing
there's a
shortages,
plastic
or
to cover the
dilapidated
plastic.
roads or highways. Looks like they
For
missed the
real.
part about homelessness, crime,
For
drug
the
use, and
blood.
corruption. Maybe
Doesn't,
that'll
like,
be the
spill.
next bill passing.
Gas
Now, let me
here
give
is
you context why these
2.69 a gallon.
800 new laws actually matter.
Diesel
Silicon
at
Valley's
3.50 a
wealthiest
gallon.
residents are threatening to leave California, which
That's
I
not
think
too
they
bad.
should, over proposed state wealth tax that would impose a
That's
one-time
a little cheaper
5%
than here in
tax on
Connecticut.
residents worth more than $1 billion.
I mean, compared to
The
you,
last time
Rob,
they did
in
this,
South
they said
Dakota,
there'd be
like,
they
is
put
there a
an extra
difference?
band of income tax on for high earners. They said it was temporary. They've just re-extended it for another 10 years. It never goes away because they're addicted to tax and spending.
And most of the money goes to unions in the form of pensions to make up for shady dealings. The wealth tax would require residents to report their total net worth. We're talking about property, investment, businesses, everything. So the state can tax overall wealth, not just income. And if passed, it applies retroactively to anyone who lived in California as of January 1st, 2026. So if you're a billionaire watching California's decline while paying the highest taxes in the country, what do? You leave or you create shell companies. Now let's talk about Assembly Bill 628 that requires rental properties to have a stove and refrigerator. Current law already requires working heating and hot water. Now landlords also have to provide a stove safe for cooking and a refrigerator safe for food storage, which I thought was already mandatory.
I
If
know,
either is
right?
recalled, landlords
I mean,
must
some places
repair or replace
you have
it
to bring
within 30
you
days.
buy your
It's actually
own.
helpful because a lot of
And you
people,
bring your
whenever
own.
they first move into a home, they're not able to be provided with like a stove or a fridge. And then sometimes, as well as every year, the rent is being increased. So it's kind of like compensation.
But here's the economic reality that California lawmakers refuse to acknowledge. Every mandate you place on landlords increases the cost of providing housing, which gets passed down to the renter through higher rents.
You have the taxes, you have the insurance, the mortgage, and the maintenance. There will be some owners, it's going to put a financial strain on them as far as putting in a new or used refrigerator.
California has a massive housing shortage. Rents are sky high. Homelessness is out of control. Honestly, if you're renting out a property, you should be providing a stove and a refrigerator in the first place. But if you want more affordable housing, you need to make it easier and cheaper to provide housing, not harder and more expensive. But California would rather regulate, aka mandate, refrigerators and stoves. This, my friends, should be the landlord's responsibility to provide tangible living conditions. Here's where California's disconnect from reality really gets interesting.
Lawmakers are going to get a lot of credit for this one.
In 2026, food delivery apps must give full refunds for incorrect orders and offer human customer service.
That's pretty intense for businesses, like a full refund. At the same time, if you didn't get what you paid for, it makes sense to get some kind of compensation back.
On the surface, it sounds consumer friendly. If you order a burger and you get a salad, you should get your money back. But here's what's going to happen. People are going to abuse the heck out of DoorDash refund ordering. Mark my words here, California residents, you're going to see people ordering food, eating most of it, then claiming it was wrong to get a full refund. The law requires full refunds, not partial refunds, not credits, full refunds. And it mandates human customer service, which means these apps have to hire actual people instead of automated systems. This drives up costs, which will be passed down to the consumer through higher fees and prices. This is classic California. Pass a law that sounds great for consumers without thinking through the unintended consequences. Small restaurants that rely on delivery apps are going to get hammered by fraudulent refund claims. Delivery apps will raise fees to cover the cost, and ultimately, honest customers will pay more because of people gaming the system. Still, no solution to violent crime, group robberies, homelessness, drug addiction, expensive gasoline, the utility bills, housing shortages, or dilapidated roads. But hey,
over here,
you can get a full refund when your DoorDash order is wrong. By July 1st, 2026, California public schools must enact policies limiting or banning student phone use during the particular school day. And families are deeply divided on this.
The phone's fine to keep in touch with them after and before school, but I think it's taking away from their focus.
I think it's very important for kids to be able to communicate with their parents in emergency situations.
Both sides have valid points. Yes, phones are distracting in the classroom, but in the era of school shootings and emergencies, parents want to reach out to their kids. The problem is California's solution is a one-size-fits-all mandate that doesn't account for different school environments or parental preferences. Sacramento apparently knows better than the parents.
Also in schools, new laws cracking down on anti-Semitism and barring ICE agents from campuses without a warrant.
Federal immigration enforcement needs a warrant to enter a school, but the state can mandate what your students do with their personal property. The priorities are crystal clear. California will protect illegal immigrants from federal law enforcement while controlling students' access to their own phone. Meanwhile, California schools are still struggling with basic literacy and math proficiency, but at least they've got their priorities straight. No phones, no ice, and definitely no plastic bags. While Sacramento passes 800 laws about plastic bags and phone restrictions, PG&E can't keep its lights on. Calls for change are escalating as San Francisco's power issues continue. 1 week after the widespread outage left 130,000 customers without power, another 6,000 were left in the dark.
The Sunset District is sick and tired of all these outages. Can PG&E just get its act together?
Wong has called for a public hearing with PG&E and is asking the city what can be done to increase accountability when it comes to delivering electricity.
My priorities will be, number one, being able to get answers for what happened. Why have we faced so many outages? It's ridiculous.
In the Richmond district, 7 large generators have been humming loudly since Monday because residents went 2 days without power.
It was frustrating, a huge inconvenience, especially with how high the rates are.
They're paying record high electricity rates and still losing power pretty regularly. PG&E keeps raising prices while services get worse. Some leaders are calling California to break up with PG&E and form a publicly owned utility.
And at Sea Spot Run in Alameda, they're celebrating a new law banning the declawing of cats.
Declawing is removing the whole bone. Cats are basically walking on their
Yeah,
joints
I
or
think
like
that's a
walking on their
good
bones,
thing, though.
which hurts them.
Don't
I think
declaw them.
any law outlawing animal cruelty is important.
Fair enough. I understand that.
I'm fair
not
with that.
pro animal
I love my
cruelty,
fucking
but
cat.
California will ban declawing cats while allowing criminals to walk free after stealing $949 worth of merchandise.
That's
They'll
crazy. They
protect
can
cats,
steal that
but
cat
not
and
store
get away with
owners.
it.
Assembly Bill
And not get in trouble.
1830 would
No.
add folic acid to corn masa flour products like tortillas. This comes after finding Latino communities have a higher risk of serious birth defects of the spine or brain.
The folic acid can cut that risk in half. Some people support it. Others are concerned about the additives in their food. It sounds pretty racist, doesn't it?
And other new laws taking effect in the
Weird.
new year include capping the cost of insulin at $35 for most Californians, allowing car buyers 3 days to return their car to the dealer, and making Diwali a state holiday.
California is also capping insulin
You can have the
at
car for 3 days
$35.
and then return
Actually,
it
a
back.
good policy. Car
Like,
buyers
"Oh,
get
I
3
don't want
days
it."
to return vehicles. That's going to be interesting. And California
That's
is making
gonna add miles to
Diwali
the car.
a state holiday.
You
I've
can't
got
sell
no
it as
problems
used. You gotta
with
sell it as
recognizing
used.
different cultures, but California
3
already
days.
has more state holidays than most states. Maybe focus on fixing the roads before adding more days off. America, California passed 800 laws in 2025, while billionaires flee over wealth tax and power grid failures, and none of those laws address any of the real issues in California. Sacramento doubled the budget in 10 years and apparently made everything worse. So their solution is 800 more laws to control what bags you use, what's in your tortillas, and whether your kids can
What's
use
in your
phones. While
tortilla?
PG&E leaves hundreds of thousands of people in the dark, and the fire department can't respond to emergencies. This isn't governance. This is a state-level control grid where politicians would rather regulate every aspect of your daily life than solve actual problems. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I won't catch you in California.
Oh, hell no. I lived in California for a little bit. I lived there for a year. And no, I wouldn't go back. Hell no. I went there for a year and it was a really weird and cool experience, but I couldn't breathe. I had a hard time breathing because of the smog. It was just so much pollution, air pollution, and I'm not used to that. So I always had a hard time breathing. So I kept moving west. When I first started living there, I lived in Hollywood. And then from Hollywood, I went to Pasadena. Well, yeah, I went to oh, what's that area? It's by the observatory, Griffith Park. I lived around that area, around Griffith Park. Then I moved to Pasadena, and it was okay, but I still couldn't breathe that well. So I moved from Pasadena to West Covina, and then ended up moving back to Florida because my mom got sick. So it was like pretty crazy. Good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Hey, what's up, Kevin? How you doing? About to wrap up the show. Just comparing the prices, like the gas prices in certain areas and so forth, and I'll talk to Tyson more about some of the things that he had on his show. I like to pick on Tyson's brain, so we'll do that on Thursday. We'll have Tyson de la Cruz here, and Trainer Truth is here. My current parents lived in San Jose. Okay, I've never been to San Jose. When I was out there, I went from Hollywood. I traveled around. I went to like Venice Beach. I went to the promenade. Where's Rodeo Drive? Went to the promenade, and then they have the boardwalk with the carnival rides and stuff like that. And if you go south, you could walk it. I walked it. You could. A lot of people are using their skateboards, bikes, all different types of freaking ways to get around. I walked it and went to Venice Beach, which is Muscle Beach, and pretty weird area at the time when I was there. Because it was just really odd, like just a lot of weird fucking people. And that's what it was. It was just a place where it was just all fucking weird people. I was like, okay, this is what it is. This is what, like, okay, I see weird all the time, but like there was some crazy shit weird out there. A lot of them on that drugs and stuff, and there was a lot of like homeless people around, and it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't a good experience for me. I went back to the promenade, which was a lot better than what it is today. I heard from the grapevine that the promenade area there, it's no good. It's all the businesses are closed down. A lot of people, it's just not safe there anymore, and it's just not the same anymore. But and I had a friend that lived in Lake Tahoe. Oh, that's what's up. Lake Tahoe is pretty cool. San Francisco was full of weird fuckers when he was a kid. Yeah, San Francisco has not changed. It's probably gotten worse. It's just not safe there. You can't even go out there. Like, I think the business that's probably making the most money out there is probably the car repair centers fixing people's windows, because they break in through people's windows, open the car, take the luggages and so forth. If you're gonna go travel over to San Francisco anytime, not me, travel very light. Travel with just enough clothes to last you a few days, and if you need to wash in the sink, wash your underwears and hang it up to dry, and it'll be ready in a few days. Has to be used again. Yeah, it's just not. I like to do my traveling, but I like to go to the Caribbean. I like to go to Puerto Rico. So, because it's nice, the beach is like so beautiful, and the water is so warm, and the food is so delicious. It's like it's different. It's not like here, like in Connecticut. Like the food up here is it's like it's all right. It's not like the greatest thing in the world. But when I go to Puerto Rico, it's like everything tastes fucking good, and it's like it's just I don't know. I just think it's just the water's different, and like the whole atmosphere and everything with the pressure and the humidity and all that stuff plays a big factor. And the food just tastes better. It just tastes better. And I guess that goes for a lot of Caribbean islands like, Dominican Republic. And I'm sure the people in Cuba cooks delicious because my step grandmother, she cooked so good. Oh my God. My step grandfather, he was so good with the black beans. Oh my God. I looked forward every Christmas because he would make black beans and he would do it his style, a certain because he do it everything from scratch. Like the beans, he leave them in water for like a day or two, and then he would season them and get them all prepped up and ready, and it's a whole process. And I enjoyed every year, every time he made it. Thought about that man already 2 times in this show. That's amazing. But I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm getting tired. I took my medicine early and I had a long day today. So I'll be back hopefully tomorrow. And we'll do this all over again. But before I leave, I had some good luck today. I after went to my doctor's appointment and so forth, I decided to go to Target and I was looking for Pokemon cards or anything Pokemon. So when I got there, the shelves were bare, but there was a lot of boxes that was nearby. So I go walking towards like the Christmas stuff to see what's there and what's left, and it looked like a fucking tornado hit the area. It was just everything was just a whole fucking mess. And I'm like, damn, this shit like the fucking like you guys had an earthquake or something. Like everything's all over the fucking place. Like, nah, we have to take all the stuff down, load it back up, and then take it out of the store and bring in the stuff for Valentine's Day because now it's Valentine's Day, so they bring in all the Valentine's Day shit out, and it's like, man, you might as well just keep out every single like season out. Like, here's a Christmas section, here's a Valentine's, here's a St. Patrick's Day, and all the other holidays. That is just a money grab. That's all it is. But let me get back to the story. So I go and I talk to one of the sales guys, and he's like, "Nah, man, I was looking for the Pokemon cards and stuff, and I see they don't have that over there." She's like, "Oh no, the rep is here. They're about to put it up right now. She's gonna be over there in a minute." I was like, "Oh, for real?" So yeah, she go check it out. There's some good stuff. Hopefully you can come across. So I was like, all right. So I walked back over to the section and there's other people there. So I was like, you guys are here for the Pokemon? He's like, no, just there was one other person. I was like, but I was there before him. So he's like, nah, you were here before, so you got first dabs on the Pokemon. I was like, okay, good. And then the other guys were like, no, we're here for the football and the baseball cards because they restocked everything. They restocked all the cards. So they went with a cart, right? And they filled it up to the top with all freaking football and baseball cards. I was like, holy shit. You guys got a lot of money to be fucking splurging on these things, right? But for me, it was the Pokemon. And I did a video. It's in my shorts. So you got to go and watch my shorts. Go look in my shorts. And it'll be a surprise. I filmed the stocking. The lady stocking up the Pokemon, which she did a great job. And I showed another video of me grabbing the UPC, which I have it here right next to me. So I would like to show it off. This is my Christmas. This is my Christmas and my birthday gift. This is basically like my birthday gift because It's ding 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 ding. Here, let me get a close up on that. Ding 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 ding. Look at that. It's mine. And I got 2 of them. So I was like, it's for my birthday. So it's an early birthday gift I got for myself. And I'm really looking forward to it and opening it. It comes with really cool promo cards, which I'm definitely possibly going to be. And I hope I got good ones because I would like to submit them to get graded. But it does comes with a whole bunch of packs in here. It comes with like 18 TCG booster packs and some dice and a meta coin and a whole bunch of shit. It comes with a playing mat, 65 sleeves featuring the Mega Charizard X. It comes with a couple of promos there, and yeah, it's like my birthday gift. Because my birthday's literally down in a few weeks. So I saw it. I was like, I'm getting it early for my birthday. Fuck that. I'm getting it early for my birthday. So I ain't opening it until possibly my birthday. I don't know if I should open it or not because if I hold on to it for like a good amount of time, let's say 10 years from now, or maybe like 15 years from now, that box right there probably is going to be like $500, $600 a box, probably more. Depends. I don't know. It could go up or down. It all depends on the market of like the selling market. I bought this at MSRP, which was like $129.99, which is great to get at that price. But if you go to other people's, to see the secondhand sell, some places you'll find it for like 150. GameStop sells it for like 190. That same box, $190. GameStop's a ripoff when it comes to selling of Pokemon, anything Pokemon. But yeah, and I did pick up a few things today. I picked up a little pack here from Walmart, and I picked up a little tin here, a little tin that they had, and I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just grab one. I grabbed that from Walmart. That's for my shorts that I do because I'm doing a Pokemon MR. So people could like listen to when I open the cards and listen to when I just swipe the cards out. And if I get something nice, I show it off. But I don't talk on it because I don't want to be narrating or doing narrating on it. I want people just to listen to the sound, the nostalgia sound of opening up the decks, And if I get something nice, you see it. And I usually get excited with my hand when something nice comes out. I know definitely with the UPCs, I'm definitely going to have some really nice stuff in there. So, all right, guys, I'm done for the night. So I'll be back on here tomorrow. So have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night. And I'll catch y'all on the flip side. And like I said, I'll be back here tomorrow around 7:30-ish. And have a good night too, Rob. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you, man. But I'll be back on here at 7:30 tomorrow. That's in every day. And Thursday, I'll try to get Tyson on here. So we'll have a great show. So until then, have a good night, everyone. Peace.